Chapter 3325. Even the titled celestial emperors on the third floor of the Thousand Chains prison are powerless against the Heavenly Pool Palace. With the help of the Chaos Origin Sword, Yu Hong's celestial emperor should be able to kill them. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. You can control the Ning dragons as well? Meng Chuan was shocked when he saw the two Ning dragons being recalled into Duan Lingtian's little world. Earlier, when Duan Lingtian had teleported behind Duan Lingtian, Meng Chuan wondered if Duan Lingtian would be able to hurt Duan Lingtian with his strength. He only realized he had underestimated Duan Lingtian when the two Ning dragons joined forces and unleashed a full-strength attack comparable to an ordinary titled Celestial Emperor. It seems like Lord Heavenly Emperor's successor in the mundane realm is not simple, Meng Chuan thought to himself, as expected of Lord Heavenly Emperor's successor in the mundane realm. Furthermore, these two Ning dragons seem to know some profound joint attacks. Meng Chuan's eyes widened as he looked at Duan Lingtian. The person who took human form from the tenacious heavenly bamboo is quite strong. If I didn't know the Chaos Origin Sword that Lord Heavenly Emperor had taught me, I might not have been able to kill him even if I joined forces with your Ning dragons. Meng Chuan looked at Duan Lingtian and asked, how did you offend a titled Celestial Emperor? That titled Celestial Emperor's strength is above average among the second-tier titled Celestial Emperors in the Devata realms. In the Devata realms, titled Celestial Emperors were also divided into different tiers according to their strength. Meng Chuan, for example, was in the second-tier titled Celestial Emperors. His elder brother, Meng Luo, the Heavenly Savage Celestial Emperor, was in the first-tier titled Celestial Emperors. He's an assassin. Duan Lingtian shook his head and said, I don't have any enmity with him. However, someone tried to kill me in the Heavenly Pool Palace. They hired a hitman and found that man and his brother. However, his brother died in my hands. He must have received news that I left the Heavenly Pool Palace. That's why he's waiting for me outside the Heavenly Pool Palace. And today he's finally here. As his voice faded, a cold glint flashed across Duan Lingtian's eyes. Lei Jun. If it wasn't for the fact that saving Huaner's parents was his top priority right now, he would have gone to Lei Jun's doorstep and settled the score with him. If we can kill this kind of person, it's better to kill him as soon as possible. Meng Chuan said, people who attack you in the open aren't scary. Often, people who hide in the dark like venomous snakes can pounce out and bite you at any time are the most terrifying. Yes, Duan Lingtian nodded, and then a cold light flashed in his eyes. He won't live for long. Senior Meng Chuan, I'll take my leave first. You can follow the normal procedures and look for the Heavenly Pool Palace Master. After bidding farewell to Meng Chuan, Duan Lingtian returned to the Heavenly Pool Palace's base and returned to Su Lang's cultivation ground. Duan Lingtian heaved a sigh of relief when he returned to the Heavenly Pool Palace. Based on the current situation, there was no need for him to resort to violence. No matter what, the Heavenly Pool Palace Master will at least give Senior Meng Chuan some face, right? Senior Meng Chuan is a titled Celestial Emperor from the Heavenly Palace of the Solitary Destructive Heaven. Senior Feng Qing Yang, the Heavenly Emperor of the Solitary Destructive Heaven, should be stronger than the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. Although the Heavenly Pool Palace Master has a close relationship with the Heavenly Pool Palace Master in the Boundless Heaven, he shouldn't disrespect Senior Meng Chuan. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian made up his mind. If possible, he didn't want to go against his teacher Su Lang, as well as his senior brothers and sisters, because he really saw them as his family now. Now I'll wait for Senior Meng Chuan's news. Duan Lingtian wanted to cultivate, but he could not calm down. For this reason he could only wait. About 2 hours later, Meng Chuan finally received Meng Chuan's message. Finally, Meng Chuan sent him a message. I spoke to the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, but he rejected my request. He said that unless the Heavenly Emperor personally intervenes, even if my brother, Meng Luo, comes, he won't let them go. It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to detect the anger in Meng Chuan's voice. Since Duan Lingtian did not allow Meng Chuan to mention him, Meng Chuan did not bring him up. Moreover, Duan Lingtian was only the successor of the legacy left behind by Feng Qingyang. the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. He was not acknowledged by Feng Qingyang. Therefore, he could not be considered as Feng Qingyang's disciple. Even if Meng Chuan mentioned him, it would be useless. It would be better for Meng Chuan to personally intervene. But now, Meng Chuan was rejected even though he had personally stepped forward. Duan Lingtian, based on the current situation, we can only wait for the heavenly emperor to speak to him and ask for his help. Then, Meng Chuan sent Duan Lingtian a message. In Meng Chuan's opinion, with the heavenly emperor's personality, since Duan Lingtian had obtained the heavenly emperor's legacy in the mundane realm, even if Duan Lingtian was not the successor, the heavenly emperor would still be willing to help. That Lord Heavenly Emperor attached great importance to the word fate, and felt that everything was fate. Wait for Senior Feng Qingyang? Upon hearing Meng Chuan's words, Duan Lingtian's heart sank. It was already a pleasant surprise that Meng Chuan was willing to help him. As for Senior Feng Qingyang, who was now the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, was he certain Senior Feng Qingyang would agree to help him? Moreover, Senior Feng Qingyang was nowhere to be found. Even Meng Chuan could not contact him. It would take another 10 years, 100 years, or 1,000 years for him to appear. Senior Meng Chuan, when do you think we'll receive news from Senior Feng Qingyang? Duan Lingtian asked. I can't say for sure, Meng Chuan replied. It might take a few years, a few decades, or even 100 years. It might even take 1,000 years. Based on what he knew, Meng Chuan's eldest brother, Meng Luo, had left with the heavenly emperor to the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. Being in the Azura Hell, there was no way to communicate with the outside world, and no communication from the outside world could be accessed. That's too long. I can't wait that long, Duan Lingtian said with a bitter smile on his face. Senior, Duan Lingtian suddenly thought of something. His eyes turned cold as he said, if I want to use force to save the person I want to save, can you help me fend off the Heavenly Pool Palace's titled celestial emperors? I have at least 6 titled celestial emperors, who have comprehended the law of earth, to deal with the Heavenly Pool Palace's titled celestial emperors. The Heavenly Pool Palace has 9 titled celestial emperors. Duan Lingtian paused for a moment. After a moment of silence, Meng Chuan said, although Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, is stronger than me, I'll be able to fend him off for a while. However, I can only fend him off. As for the other 8 titled celestial emperors, 6 of them might not be able to fend him off. Meng Chuan said, although I can summon more titled celestial emperors from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, they might not be willing to risk their lives. Meng Chuan continued to say, initially, with my strength, even if I'm from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, Yu Fengyu wouldn't dare to kill me. However, since my eldest brother is Meng Luo, the heavenly savage celestial emperor from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, he won't dare to kill me. After Meng Chuan finished speaking, he revealed a piece of information to Duan Lingtian. He could play along with Duan Lingtian, because he knew that Yu Fengyu would not dare to kill him. However, with his strength, the most he could do was restrain Yu Fengyu. There was nothing he could do about the other 8 titled celestial emperors. Although he could ask the other titled celestial emperors from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven to help him, they might not be willing to help him since they were worried they would be killed by the titled celestial emperors from the heavenly pool palace. Most importantly, he was worried that he would die in the hands of the boundless heaven's heavenly emperor. The celestial emperor of the boundless heaven and the celestial emperor of the heavenly pool palace were very close. The celestial emperor of the boundless heaven was the celestial emperor's grandfather. The fact that Meng Chuan had a good elder brother meant that he was under the protection of the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. The heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven could even fall out with the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven because of him. Meng Chuan dared to play this game, but it didn't mean that others dared to do the same. We'll need at least 1 or 2 titled celestial emperors to rescue them. Unless you're certain that not all of the titled celestial emperors are in the heavenly pool palace. Meng Chuan continued. Although Meng Chuan could get people to come in private, a small number of people were willing to come. However, these people were his good friends. If they died here, he would not be able to absolve himself from the blame. Moreover, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven might not fall out with the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven because of them. The main thing is, we still can't confirm that this Duan Lingtian is the successor that the celestial emperor has been looking for ever since he came out of the Azura hell. If I can confirm it, I'll summon them and all the titled celestial emperors from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. At that time, even if the boundless heaven's heavenly emperor is present, we will still have the courage to rescue them. These were Meng Chuan's thoughts. Right now, he wasn't sure how important this Duan Lingtian was to their celestial emperor, so he didn't dare to take too much risk for him. One or two more titled celestial emperors. Upon hearing Meng Chuan's transmission, Duan Lingtian frowned slightly. He did not know many titled celestial emperors. How could he possibly find one? Zhuge Feng? Zhuge Yin? No, I can't look for them. Although they're strong and can kill ordinary titled celestial emperors, they might not be a match for the strongest titled celestial emperors in the heavenly pool palace. When Duan Lingtian thought about the leaders of the Ganjiang progeny and the Wuxia progeny in the Thousand Tribulation Sword sect, he shook his head and gave up on looking for them. The tuning dragons should be able to deal with a weak titled celestial emperor from the heavenly pool palace if they join forces. If my teacher didn't attack the 6 titled celestial emperors who escaped from the Thousand Chains prison and came after me instead, he might let me go on account of our past relationship. However, that's not necessarily the case. After all, if I release the 6 titled celestial emperors, I'll be standing on the opposite side of the heavenly pool palace. Chapter 3326. Senior Feng Qingyang. I don't know when I'll receive Senior Meng Chuan's message. Even if I receive it, I'm afraid he won't help me. As for Huaner's mother, she'll be tortured every once in a while. At the same time, Huaner's father will be mentally tortured as well. Huan is still waiting for me in the Saint Province realm, although she said I shouldn't take the risk if I'm not confident, and that she'll follow me if something happens to me. Can I meet her empty-handed? Taking a deep breath, Duan Lingtian's eyes abruptly shot out 2 dazzling bright lights. It was as if the sun had shone through 2 small holes in the dark room. After a while, Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up as he racked his brains to come up with a solution. About 15 minutes later, Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. It seems like this is the only way. Senior Meng Chuan. Duan Lingtian sent a voice transmission to Meng Chuan. Please stay near the heavenly pool palace for a while. I hope you can help me restrain Yu Fengyu in half a year. I can help you restrain Yu Fengyu, but are you confident you can save the person you want to save? Meng Chuan asked. If I'm not confident, I can't trouble you, Senior Meng Chuan. Duan Lingtian replied. All right. I won't leave the boundless heaven for the time being. I'll wait for you outside the heavenly pool palace for half a year. Meng Chuan agreed immediately. The reason Meng Chuan agreed so readily was because of the heavenly emperor. He knew the heavenly emperor rarely left behind any legacy. Since the young man named Duan Lingtian had obtained the heavenly emperor's legacy, it was likely he would become the heavenly emperor's official disciple in the future. Of course, there was another possibility. Duan Lingtian was the special successor the heavenly emperor had gone to great lengths to look for. If Duan Lingtian was that person, he would have profited greatly by doing Duan Lingtian a favor. Most importantly, he knew that even if he was no match for Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the heavenly pool palace, it was impossible for Yu Fengyu to kill him. Even if the boundless heaven's celestial emperor was here, he wouldn't dare to kill him. Wanshou Heaven. There were many heaven-grade factions in the Wanshou Heaven. Since more than 99% of the life forms in the Wanshou Heaven were demonic beasts, these factions were all demonic beast factions. The dragons and the Blood Dragon clan were heaven-grade forces in the Wanshou Heaven. The Blood Moon Ridge was one of the heaven-grade factions in the Wanshou Heaven. It was located in an extremely secluded area of the Wanshou Heaven and was shrouded in blood mist all year round. In particular, When one looked at the moon in the Blood Moon Ridge at night, it was like looking at a blood moon. That was how the Blood Moon Ridge got its name. Ninth Elder, are you sure this news is true? A beautiful but somewhat mischievous woman in golden clothes looked at the old man in loose gray robes before her, and asked for confirmation. Little Jean, you little girl, why are you doubting this old man's words? I'm in charge of the Blood Moon Ridge's intelligence network. How can the news from my mouth be false? The old man shook his head helplessly and said, the news is 100% true. I'm afraid there are only 5 people in the Jade Emperor Heavens, Nando territory, who don't know about the Duan Ling Tian. That Duan Ling Tian wore violet clothes, and had a handsome appearance. Moreover, there was a portrait of him drawn by someone who had seen him before. Take a look and see if he's the person you're looking for. As soon as the old man finished speaking, he lifted his hand, and a scroll appeared in his hand. After the scroll was unfurled, a portrait appeared in front of the golden-clad woman. It was a handsome young man with an extraordinary aura. Although the portrait was crude, it still stunned the golden-clad woman. That's right. That's right. It's Brother Ling Tian. It's Brother Ling Tian. Ha ha ha. I finally found Brother Ling Tian. Little black, little white, they're still not good enough. In the end, I still found Brother Ling Tian. After looking at the portrait for a moment, the golden-clad woman could not help but laugh. The old man could not help but shake his head. He really could not figure it out. Why does the Grand Elder like this crazy girl so much? Moreover, the Grand Elder even adopted her as his daughter. Is it because the Grand Elder is also a rodent celestial beast like me? Little black, little white. The golden-clad woman took a deep breath before she regained her senses. At the same time, she sent a message to her 2 companions who were among the dragons. There's news about Brother Ling Tian. The black-clad young man and the white-clad woman, who were cultivating among the dragons, immediately stopped cultivating when they heard the message. They left their respective cultivation spots and gathered together. Little Jean said she has news about Brother Ling Tian and asked me to go to Blood Moon Ridge to look for him. The white-clad woman said. I received her message as well. The black-clad young man's expression was cold, but when he looked at the white-clad woman, a hint of affection could be seen in the depths of his eyes. You should greet the 4th Elder, the black-clad young man said to the white-clad woman. She already knows about our relationship with Brother Ling Tian. She'll understand. All right. The white-clad woman nodded. Then, she flew toward a mountain peak where the dragons were stationed. However, what the black-clothed young man didn't expect was that when his sister returned, there was another person by her side. It was the beautiful woman dressed in white from beginning to end. She was the 4th Elder of the Dragon Clan, Ji Ningyun. 4th Elder. The black-clad young man hurriedly bowed when he saw the beautiful woman. Little Black, I heard you and Little White have news about your brother Ling Tian. Are you going to look for him? Ji Ningyun asked with a smile. Yes. Little Black nodded. I have nothing to do recently. I'll go out with you and Xiaobai. I'll also take a look at that human elder brother that you can't forget. Take it as a trip to relax, Ji Ningyun said with a smile. Little Black, if Aunt Yun goes with us, we won't have to worry about encountering humans who are plotting against us and Little Jean. The white-clad woman, Little White, said in a timely manner. She and Little Black were both 9-clawed divine dragons. If they were discovered by powerful humans, it was inevitable that they would want to kill them and seize their bodies. Every part of a 9-clawed divine dragon was a treasure. Although Little White was Ji Ningyun's disciple, Ji Ningyun did not ask her to address her as master or teacher. Instead, she asked her to address her as Aunt Yun. All right. Little Black nodded. He knew it was useless for him to refuse. The 4th Elder was clearly worried about his and his sister's safety. It just so happens that the old man hasn't been out for a long time. This is a good opportunity to bring him out to relax. Ji Ningyun smiled. Little White and Little Black were stunned when they heard Ji Ningyun's words. Naturally, they knew the old man was the Grand Elder of the Dragons. He was one of the 3 strongest titled celestial emperors among the dragons. Not long after Ji Ningyun finished speaking, a tall and muscular middle-aged man dressed in a dark golden robe appeared next to Ji Ningyun like a ghost. This middle-aged man had a dignified square face, and there was an imposing aura between his brows. However, when he looked at Ji Ningyan, a rare smile appeared on his face as he asked, "Ningyan, is there anything I can help you with?" Little White and Little Black are going to the Jade Emperor Heaven with the little fellow from Blood Moon Ridge. I'm planning to go with them. Since you have nothing better to do, why don't you come with us? Ji Ningyan said. All right. The middle-aged man was none other than Ji Yunyan, the Grand Elder of the Dragons. He was also a famous figure in the 10,000 Beasts Heaven. Grand Elder. Grand Elder. Little White and Little Black bowed respectfully at Ji Yunyan. After all, Ji Yunyan's status in the Dragons was not inferior to the Patriarch. Let's go. Ji Yunyan nodded at Xiaohei and Xiaobai. Then he waved his hand and Ji Ningyan, Xiaohei, and Xiaobai all disappeared into thin air. Ji Yunyan had used the teleportation profundity. He was skilled in the law of space, one of the 4 supreme laws. In Blood Moon Ridge, Little Gold, who was dressed in a golden robe, was shocked when she saw Ji Yunyan, the Grand Elder of the Dragons. She sent a voice transmission to Little Black and Little White. Little Black, Little White, you're really something. Even the Grand Elder of the Dragons is escorting you. Little Gold. Aunt Yun was the one who invited the Grand Elder. Little White replied through voice transmission. As for Little Black, he ignored Little Gold. That old fellow was worried about me. Now that the Grand Elder of the Dragons is with me, I'm sure he'll be relieved. Little Gold laughed before she led the group to the transportation formation in Blood Moon Ridge. Soon after, they arrived at the Nando territory in the Jade Emperor Heaven. After arriving at the Nando territory, they immediately went to the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect. According to the news, Brother Ling Tian joined the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect and became a disciple of the Ganjiang progeny. Little Gold said after they arrived at the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect's estate. The Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect's estate was heavily guarded. Even Ji Yunyan, the Grand Elder of the Dragons, did not dare to barge in recklessly. I didn't expect the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect, a mere Grade 1 force, to have such a powerful formation. Little White sighed. Little White, although the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect is only a Grade 1 force, its foundation is comparable to a Heaven Grade force. This is because the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect used to be a Heaven Grade force in the Jade Emperor Heaven. Ji Ningyan, the 4th Elder of the Dragons, said with a smile, the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect's sect guarding formation isn't much weaker than our clan's formation. It used to be a Heaven Grade force. That explains it. Little White nodded. Moreover, although the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect is only a Grade 1 force, there's a Celestial Emperor, who's as strong as a titled Celestial Emperor. If the leaders of the Ganjiang progeny and the Wuxia progeny join forces, they can easily kill ordinary titled Celestial Emperors. Based on Ji Ningyan's words, it was clear she knew a lot about the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect. Chapter 3327. Outside the Thousand Chains prison. The day has finally come. Duan Lingtian hovered in the air as he looked at the entrance of the Thousand Chains prison. A cold light flashed in the depths of his eyes. Of course, he had made some preparations before this day arrived. For example, in a few days, the person he arranged would use a voice that was almost identical to his to inform them of one thing through the soul orbs of his teacher, Su Lang, and Sun Xing. He had said that he had heard there was a ruin left behind by a deity, and was on his way there. Naturally, Su Lang would not doubt his words. As for Sun Xing, he would also inform his teacher, the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor, and ask him to leave the Heavenly Pool Palace as well. With Su Lang and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor's speed, it would take at least 10 days for them to make a round trip. By the time they realized he had lied to them, he would have already rescued Huaner's parents. Teacher, senior brother Sun Xing. Although I had no ill intentions, it's true that I tricked you. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely apologize to you and make it up to you. Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly as he flew toward the entrance of the Thousand Chains prison. Once he entered the Thousand Chains prison, he would be completely isolated from the outside world. He would not be able to receive any messages from the outside world, let alone send any messages. For this reason, before he entered the Thousand Chains prison, Duan Lingtian sent 2 messages. Senior Mengchuan, I'll send you a message as soon as I'm out of the Thousand Chains prison. The first message was sent to the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, a titled Celestial Emperor, from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. All right. Mengchuan's reply was simple and direct. I'll enter the Thousand Chains prison now. After 2 hours, imitate my voice and send a message to the owners of the 2 soul pearls. I've already passed the soul pearls to you. Remember to be accurate at the crucial moment, and don't screw up. Following that, Duan Lingtian sent a voice transmission to another person. This person was also someone who was good at imitating other people's voices. Naturally, Duan Lingtian had also given the person a lot of royal-grade celestial crystals. Don't worry, my lord. Hearing the response, Duan Lingtian finally flew to the gate of the Thousand Chains prison. After showing the prison guard token, he entered and went straight to the Internal Affairs Hall. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to enter the Thousand Chains prison, in a small city not far from the Heavenly Pool Palace's estate, a young man dressed like a hooligan, who had just sent a message to Duan Lingtian, was whistling as he walked out of a restaurant. I didn't know you can earn so many celestial crystals by imitating other people's voices. In the future, can I consider developing in this direction? The young man was wearing a green robe. He wasn't considered handsome, but he was still pleasing to the eye. At this moment, he was thinking with a smile on his face. Over there. It's him. Wuxia. It's really a case of searching high and low only to find it by chance. I finally found him. I didn't expect him to be hiding in this small town. The green-clad young man's expression changed drastically when he heard the voices behind him. After all, his name was Wuxia. How did they find me here? Wuxia did not need to turn around to know who was behind him. His celestial origin energy surged out of his body as he shot out like a ghost and left the small town in just a blink of an eye. However, whoosh, 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 whoosh. Wuxia's speed was not slow, but his pursuers were even faster. A few of them even took the lead and blocked his path. As for the people behind Wuxia, they blocked Wuxia's path of retreat and stared at him like a tiger eyeing its prey. Everyone Wuxia's expression was extremely unsightly when he was about to say something. Kill. The leader of the group was a middle-aged man with a cold expression. As soon as he gave the order, everyone attacked together and killed Wuxia in just a blink of an eye. After Wuxia's death, the middle-aged man took his spatial ring and performed a blood ownership claim on it. He looked inside the spatial ring and nodded. It's still here. At the same time, the middle-aged man took out more than 10 soul pearls from the spatial ring and tossed them aside as though they were trash. These soul pearls belonged to the people that Wuxia could contact. To him, they were of no use. The soul pearls fell to the ground and shattered. Among them were the soul pearls that Duan Lingtian had given to Wuxia 2 days ago. They were Su Lang's soul pearls and Sun Xing's soul pearls. Let's go. The group of people came quickly and left quickly as well. They were in a hurry. However, Duan Lingtian was unaware of this. Now that the people he sent were dead, he could no longer send a message to Su Lang and Sun Xing to lure Su Lang and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor away. At this moment, Duan Lingtian was in the Heavenly Pool Palace's Thousand Chains prison with the other 5 people who were on duty this year. Among the 6 people on duty this year, 4 were prodigious disciples while the other 2 were elders of the Thousand Chains prison. One of the elders was an acquaintance of Duan Lingtian. It was none other than Elder Xia, who had introduced the Thousand Chains prison to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, why are you here alone? Where's Miss Huaner? Elder Xia asked in surprise when he saw Duan Lingtian coming to the Thousand Chains prison alone. Based on what he knew, ever since Duan Lingtian came to the Heavenly Pool Palace, Huaner had never left Duan Lingtian's side. She's cultivating recently, so she didn't come over. Duan Lingtian replied perfunctorily with a faint smile on his face. Elder Xia did not doubt Duan Lingtian's words. He nodded and introduced another old man to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, this is Elder Hong. Elder Hong, This is Duan Lingtian, the prodigious disciple who's been in the limelight recently. Elder Xie introduced Duan Lingtian to the old man. While Duan Lingtian and Elder Hong were greeting one another, one of the 4 prodigious disciples looked at Duan Lingtian with a frown on his face. Junior sister Huaner didn't come? This prodigious disciple was none other than Lei Ying's second disciple and only son Lei Jun. When Duan Lingtian saw Lei Jun earlier, he was slightly taken aback. He did not expect Lei Jun to be here. Based on what he knew, Lei Jun did not comprehend the law of death. However, when he saw the frown on Lei Jun's face when he said Huaner was not here, it was not difficult for him to guess that Lei Jun was here for Huan. You're really persistent. Duan Lingtian sneered inwardly. At the same time, he was thinking of ways to put Lei Jun in the same group as him, so they could patrol the 3rd floor of the Thousand Chains prison together. At that time, he would not mind killing Lei Jun, as well as releasing the 6 titled Celestial Emperors. After all, the Thousand Chains prison would be in chaos. It would not be difficult for him to kill Lei Jun during the chaos. Moreover, no one would know he was the one who killed Lei Jun. However, while imagination was beautiful, reality was cruel. Although Duan Lingtian had hinted that he wanted to be in the same group as Lei Jun rejected his offer. Lei Jun only said politely, "This is my first time on duty, so I'm not familiar with it. I'd like to follow an elder to familiarize myself with the situation." Duan Lingtian, this is your first time on duty as well, right? I advise you to follow an elder as well. Lei Jun suggested in the end. Duan Lingtian, I'll be in the same group as you. At this moment, Elder Xie volunteered to join Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian did not want to be in the same group as Lei Jun. Since Elder Xie wanted to be in the same group as him, Duan Lingtian glanced at the other 2 prodigious disciples before he nodded. Elder Xie. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly when he agreed to be in the same group as Elder Xie. He asked, "May I know which level will be assigned to first? Recently, I feel like I've made a breakthrough in my cultivation. Therefore, I'd like to go to the level where I'm free to cultivate. Is that convenient?" Everyone knew what Duan Lingtian was implying. He wanted to be assigned to the 3rd level of the prison first. Normally, we'll wait for the Internal Affairs Hall to make the arrangements, Elder Xie said. However, if we can discuss it in private, we can also make arrangements. I have no problem with that. As long as the other 4 have no problem with that, we can be assigned to the 3rd level for 4 months. After Elder Xie finished speaking, he looked at the other 4 prodigious disciples. I have no problem with that. Elder Hong was the first to speak. Putting aside the fact that Duan Lingtian was a prodigious disciple of the Heavenly Pool Palace who had a bright future, he did not dare to disrespect Duan Lingtian, because he was the junior brother of Head Warden Su, one of the 3 head wardens of the Heavenly Pool Palace. As for the other 2 prodigious disciples, they had no problem with that as well. They were more than happy to befriend a prodigious disciple like Duan Lingtian, who had a bright future. As for Lei Jun, no matter how much he hated Duan Lingtian in his heart, he did not show it on his face. With that, it was decided. Duan Lingtian and Elder Xie would be assigned to the 3rd level of the prison first. Sister Water. Duan Lingtian asked the world-cleansing divine water in his little world, when he was about to head to the 3rd level of the prison with Elder Xie and the others. I'm going to head to the 3rd level now. Once we arrive, I'll wait for an opportunity to release the 6 titled Celestial Emperors. The world-cleansing divine water nodded as soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking. Let me know when you arrive. At that time, I'll teach you the method to break the formation and the squares formation. Naturally, you won't have to break the formation yourself. Moreover, with your strength, you won't be able to break the formation I'll teach you. Even the 6 titled Celestial Emperors would need at least 3 or 4 of them to break the formation. The world-cleansing divine water said. Chapter 33:28. Duan Lingtian passed by the 2 cells where Huaner's parents were imprisoned before he could make his way to the 3rd floor of the prison. Huaner's mother Du Xian was still unconscious. Moreover, the injuries on her body were different from the last time she was imprisoned. Upon seeing this, A cold glint flashed in Duan Lingtian's eyes. His expression darkened slightly. Senior. When they passed by the cell where Huaner's father, Lian Qiu, was imprisoned, Lian Qiu was still resting with his eyes closed. Due to the restriction of the formation, Lian Qiu could not sense the presence of Duan Lingtian. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's voice transmission, Lian Qiu's eyebrows twitched slightly as he narrowed his eyes. He thought that since the young man was here, his daughter would definitely be here as well. However, when he narrowed his eyes, he only saw the young man. Today, I plan to save you and Senior Du Xian. Lian Qiu was about to ask Duan Lingtian if his daughter was doing well when Duan Lingtian sent him another voice transmission. Lian Qiu regained his senses and sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian. Don't do anything stupid. If something happens to you, who's going to take care of Huan? Although he had only met his daughter once, he could see his daughter's attachment to the young man. As someone who had been through many things before, he could see his daughter's heart was completely devoted to the young man. It was the kind of attachment that she would not regret even if she died. Senior, I'm confident. Duan Lingtian did not deny Lian Qiu's words. Instead, he sent a voice transmission to Lian Qiu and said, I'll teach you the method to break the formation in your and Senior Du Xian cells. Although the spirit formation that imprisoned you all is the same, forcibly breaking it open from the inside is completely different from forcibly breaking it open from the outside. With your strength, it won't be difficult for you to break it from the inside. However, breaking it from the outside will be difficult. At that time, I'll rush over to help you. Without waiting for Lian Qiu's response, Duan Lingtian told Lian Qiu the method to break the formation. Of course, the world-cleansing divine water of the 5 divine elements had taught him how to break the formation. Senior, my plan is... When they were about to leave Lian Qiu's prison, Duan Lingtian told Lian Qiu about his plan through voice transmission. He also told Lian Qiu about his plan to release the 6 titled celestial emperors from the 3rd floor of the Heavenly Pool Palace, and that someone would come to his aid after he escaped. Lian Qiu did not expect his daughter's sweetheart would have such a grand plan. Moreover, he even used the 6 titled celestial emperors on the 3rd floor. I understand. After hearing Duan Lingtian's voice transmission, Lian Qiu also saw the hope of leaving. His eyes lit up. Since his eyes were so bright, even if there were people around him, they would not be able to see the expression in his eyes. At this moment, Duan Lingtian and Elder Xia arrived at the 3rd floor of the prison. The 6 titled celestial emperors were imprisoned on the 3rd floor of the prison. It was impossible to absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy, or sense the profundities of the laws on the 3rd floor. It was only possible to absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy, and sense the profundities of the laws near the stairs. Duan Lingtian, if you're in a hurry to cultivate, you can start now. I'll go and observe the formation to see if there's anything wrong with it, Elder Xia said. The most important thing to observe the formation on the 3rd floor is still intact. Was to report to the Heavenly Pool Palace immediately. Duan Lingtian could not stay near the stairs to arrange for a formation master to repair the formation. Celestial emperors. It's fine, and teach them how to break the formation. Duan Lingtian shook his head. All right. The old man did not suspect anything. He led Duan Lingtian around the 3rd floor of the prison and taught Duan Lingtian how to check if the formation was still intact. Duan Lingtian only replied perfunctorily when he heard the old man's words. However, from the corner of his eyes, he saw 3 people standing in front of the 3 wooden huts. These 3 people were 3 of the 4 people he had met the last time he was here. Among the 4 people he had met previously, there was a burly man, an old woman, an old man, and a young man. However, at this moment, the young man was not outside the wooden hut. The door of the wooden hut he was in was tightly shut. It was clear the young man had returned to his room. Senior. Duan Lingtian chose the skinny old woman as his first target. He said through voice transmission, I have a way to get you out of here, Senior. However, I'll need the help of the other 5 seniors. The old woman who was sitting in front of the wooden hut with her eyes closed immediately opened her eyes when she heard Duan Lingtian's voice transmission. She looked at Duan Lingtian, who was walking with the old woman. You think you have what it takes? A hint of disdain could be seen in the old woman's eyes when she heard Duan Lingtian's words, through voice transmission. Senior, there's no need to rush. Can you wait for me to finish? Duan Lingtian told the old woman the method to break the formation. He was merely passing the information to the old woman, since the world-cleansing divine water had just told him. The old woman was a titled celestial emperor. Although she was not an expert in formations, she had a certain understanding of formations. After listening to Duan Lingtian's explanation, she knew Duan Lingtian's method would work. Why did you save me? The old woman asked through voice transmission. As the saying went, one who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. She did not think Duan Lingtian would save her for no reason. Senior, naturally, I saved you for a reason. However, it has nothing to do with you. You don't have to do anything for me. Duan Lingtian did not beat around the bush. He said bluntly, I want to save the 2 people on the 2nd floor of the prison. However, I can't bring them out on my own. That's why I thought of rescuing you and the others from the 3rd floor. With your strength, you'll be able to hold back the titled celestial emperors of the Heavenly Pool Palace. Otherwise, even if I'm lucky enough to bring them out of the Heavenly Pool Palace, they won't be able to escape the pursuit of the Heavenly Pool Palace's titled celestial emperors. Duan Lingtian said, There are only 6 of us. The Heavenly Pool Palace has 9 titled celestial emperors. Moreover, some of them are stronger than the 9 titled celestial emperors. The old woman said, The 6 of us are no match for the 9 titled celestial emperors. In fact, even Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace and celestial emperor Meng Chong, alone is enough to suppress 2 or 3 of us. A hint of dread could be seen in the old woman's eyes when she mentioned Yu Fengyu. Senior, you don't have to worry about that, Duan Lingtian said. I've arranged for someone else to hold back the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace. Oh, the old woman was slightly surprised. She asked, Who did you arrange to hold back the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace? Ordinary titled celestial emperors won't be able to hold him back. Senior, you might not know who he is. The senior I arranged for isn't from the boundless heaven. He's from the solitary destructive heaven. To be more precise, he's from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, Duan Lingtian said. The heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven? The old woman chuckled. What a coincidence. I'm from the solitary destructive heaven as well. However, after I came to the boundless heaven, I killed some people from the Heavenly Pool Palace and was imprisoned here. I know all the titled celestial emperors from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Who's the person you arranged for? The old woman asked. Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor. Duan Lingtian replied. Meng Chuan? The old woman's eyes widened in shock when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. She exclaimed in shock. You're not lying to me, right? You really managed to invite Meng Chuan here? Senior, why would I lie to you? Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly. There's no point in lying to you, right? Moreover, I'm not that bored. I'm not that bored. If you really invited Meng Chuan here, even if he's slightly weaker than Yu Fengyu, he'll still be able to hold Yu Fengyu back. Most importantly, Yu Fengyu won't dare to kill him. Meng Chuan's elder brother, Meng Luo, the heavenly savage celestial emperor, is not an ordinary person. If Yu Fengyu dares to touch him, he'll definitely come to the Heavenly Pool Palace and wreak havoc. Although Yu Fengyu is one of the strongest titled celestial emperors in the Devata realms, he's still weaker than Meng Luo. The heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven is much stronger than Meng Luo. However, Meng Luo has the support of the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. The heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven is suspected to have attained godhood. The old woman's eyes became more and more fiery as she spoke. Godhood? Duan Lingtian was stunned. Senior, are you saying Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, has attained godhood? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Yes, the old woman replied. After he returned from the Azura Hell, Senior, he easily killed Qin Xiubo to contact the other seniors. Who had only been the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven together for a short period of time. We'll break the third formation although there's no news of him attaining godhood. Duan Lingtian sent a voice transmission to the old woman. He killed Qin Xiubo so easily. Yes, Senior, you even know about this. It seems like you've been imprisoned in the Heavenly Pool Palace's Thousand Chains prison not long ago. Duan Lingtian did not expect the old woman would know about what had happened in the past 100 to 200 years. Little one, even if you Feng Yu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, is being held back, I'm afraid we won't be able to deal with the remaining 8 titled celestial emperors. The old woman expressed her concern. Senior, you don't have to worry about that. Duan Lingtian said nonchalantly. I've already made arrangements before I came here. The Verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor should have left the Heavenly Pool Palace by now. Chapter 3329. He had decided to ask the titled celestial emperors to break the formation 5 days later, because the Verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor would arrive at the place Duan Lingtian had tricked them into going. Senior, even if the titled Celestial Emperors, take a look for yourself, and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor finished did not rush back. Duan Lingtian, it would still take them 5 to 6 days to return to the outside the wooden hut through a transportation formation from afar. For this reason, it was the best. There was also a person standing in front of each of the wooden huts, staring at him intently. I'm sure they'll cooperate as well. This is a great opportunity. Previously walked out of a hint of light flashed in the depths of the old woman's eyes. There was another titled Celestial Emperor voice transmission for the old woman had not met the other 5 titled Celestial Emperors. Even after this was somewhat fat old man walked out of the wooden house, the worst that could happen was that they would be sent back to the Devata realm. It was just a matter of time for them to get some emperors imprisoned here. That's good. Up until now, Duan Lingtian agreed to let the old woman contact the other 5 titled I haven't asked your name yet. Although the old woman asked for him to contact them one by one. Senior, it would take a lot of effort. Therefore, it was better for him to let the old woman contact them. My name is Shui Jinhua. He had also taught the old woman the method to break the formation. People call me the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor. The other 5 titled Celestial Emperors. The old woman introduced the 4 captives to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian reminded the old woman again. The old man his voice was solemn as he said. The old man on the left the other 5 titled Celestial Emperors. His title is Bai Lu, and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor. The White Deer Celestial Emperor. You must tell them not to be impatient. This old man isn't human. There's a reason I asked you to wait 5 days. Naturally, 5 days not later, a deer-type celestial the verdant prairie celestial his real Emperor form is a wolf, and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor. After introducing the old man with disheveled gray hair, it'll take them at least 5 to 6 days to return from there. The bald man. If they're impatient, this bald man is called Prairie Celestial Emperor. His title is Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor, and people call him the Mo Celestial Emperor and stop you from escaping. As for the fat old man, a hint of worry could be heard in Duan Lingtian's voice. And people worried the title Celestial Emperors would be too impatient. Many people think he's an expert in the law of thunder. When they hear the old woman replied, however, the truth is, 5 of them have been imprisoned here for much longer than me. If he's not in a hurry, in the law of thunder, so they definitely won't be in a hurry by euphone you from the heavenly old woman's words. The old woman paused for a moment, let out a sigh before she looked at the young man, who had yet to be introduced. At the same time, the young man had a cold aura. Continued to patrol the 3rd floor of the prison with the old man. Duan Lingtian after a round of inspection into an ice cellar. The old man smiled and just said, like Bai Lu, the formations here are intact. His true form is an ice flower that has been frozen in ice we'll just for have millions to spend of years. The remaining 4 months. You can say he's a plant 4 months later. Human form. I'll switch places with his strength is second only to the person who hasn't been released. He walked not only is he an expert in the law of ice, cross-legged, but he's also an expert in the law of earth. Yes. Naturally, at the same time, his attainments in the law of ice are higher than his attainments in the law of earth. Sat down cross-legged. However, it's all thanks to his comprehension of the law of earth that he's still alive and immersed himself in cultivation. The old woman shook her head and said, however, he named himself Xianbing, only closed his eyes for a moment before opening them again. People call him the Xianbing Celestial Emperor. There was a strange expression. 5 days. 5 days later, the 6 titled Celestial Emperors would break out of the formation. Apart from that, the formation in the square in the 1,000 Chains prison would be broken as well. At that time, Duan Lingtian would take advantage of the chaos to escape with his parents. At that time, if possible, I'll release the others as well. It doesn't matter if they're from the Heavenly Pool Palace or not. The more people there are, the more chaotic the situation will be. At the same time, my parents and I will have a higher chance of escaping. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian sent a voice transmission to the old woman. Duan Lingtian instinctively turned to look at the young man when the old woman introduced him. The young man nodded slightly at Duan Lingtian and forced a smile on his face. Senior, since the last person is the strongest among all of you, how strong is he compared to Yufeng Yu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace? Duan Lingtian asked the old woman curiously after he retracted his gaze from the young man. That person, Yufeng Yu, isn't a match for him, the old woman replied. What? Duan Lingtian's eyes widened when he heard the old woman's words. The palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace isn't a match for him? If that's the case, why is he imprisoned in the 1,000 Chains prison? His forte is defense while Yu Fengyu's forte is offense. Naturally, his offense isn't weak either. If it's a one-on-one battle, he'll be able to defeat Yu Fengyu in a day and a night. However, that's more than enough time for the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven to arrive. The old woman sighed before she continued to say, "He's not a match for the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven." In the end, he had no choice but to surrender. He couldn't escape even if he wanted to. "He's so strong." Duan Lingtian inhaled sharply. He did not expect the person who had yet to leave the wooden hut would be so strong. Even Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, was no match for him. Moreover, he was imprisoned by the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. "Speaking of which, he's quite similar to you," the old woman said. "What do you mean?" Duan Lingtian was puzzled. He did not understand why the old woman would say that. The old woman continued to say, "He came looking for trouble with the Heavenly Pool Palace because he wanted to save someone. To be more precise, he wanted the Heavenly Pool Palace to let him go. However, the Heavenly Pool Palace refused to let him go." The old woman continued. Yu Fengyu also realized that he would lose if they continued fighting, so he went to find the Celestial Emperor of Boundless Heaven. Even the Heavenly Emperor had to expend a lot of effort to capture him and imprison him in the Thousand Chains prison. The old woman shook her head as she said, "Unfortunately, he's an expert in the law of Earth. The law of Earth is weak when it comes to offense. Otherwise, if it were another existence at the same level as him, that had comprehended a different law, the Thousand Chains prison wouldn't be able to trap them at all. Among the many laws, the law of Earth was the strongest in terms of defense. In this regard, even the four supreme laws could not compare to it. However, while the law of Earth was the strongest in terms of defense, it also gave up on offense and speed. It could not compare to any of the other laws. Even Meng Chuan, your helper, isn't on the same level as him. He's on the same level as Meng Chuan's elder brother, Meng Luo, the Heavenly Savage Celestial Emperor." The old woman continued to speak. 3330. Upon hearing the old woman's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed with curiosity. At this time the old woman said, "Previously, coming out, he had met Pei Yuanji. Upon hearing the old woman's because he wanted to help Huan Duan Lingtian turned to look at the tightly shut door of the wooden hut. He thought Pei Yuanji after a few moments, the door opened. He had even walked out. Pei Yuanji, the person who walked out of the wooden hut, was a young man. However, at that time, he was dressed in a white robe that was as pure as snow. He was not. The young man had dashing eyebrows and bright eyes. Pei Yuanji was a celestial king, extraordinary, or a powerful celestial duke. As soon as he appeared, who knew Pei Yuanji was not a celestial duke or a celestial king. However, when a celestial emperor saw the white-clad young man, he was a titled celestial emperor. This was because he knew the white-clad young man. When Duan Lingtian looked at the white-clad young man, Pei Yuanji, in a daze, Pei Yuanji noticed Duan Lingtian's gaze, and instantly looked at Duan Lingtian as well. Although it had been 200 years, Pei Yuanji recognized Duan Lingtian immediately. Duan Lingtian was the young man he had met in the spirit overarching heaven. At that time, he had given Pei Yuanji his royal-grade mystical Yang 9 water chestnut ring, and asked Pei Yuanji to retrieve the mystical Yin 9 water chestnut ring from a little world. Apart from that, Pei Yuanji had left the little world on Duan Lingtian's request. However, what he did not expect was that when he left, he happened to overhear the discussions of others in a restaurant halfway through his journey. One of the people in the restaurant was a disciple of the Heavenly Pool Palace in the Boundless Heaven. He happened to witness a woman being imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison. As for that woman, she was a phantom fox named Du Xian. Du Xian? Isn't she Du Fei's niece? Pei Yuanji was not unfamiliar with the name Du Xian, since Du Fei had often mentioned it to him. Du Fei was one of the women he had met during his travels in the major realms. She was one of the most unforgettable women he had met. By the time he realized he had fallen in love with Du Fei, it was already too late. He could only think of retrieving the mystical Yin 9 water chestnut ring from Du Fei as a token of their friendship. Due to his guilt toward Du Fei and his feelings for her, he decided to make a trip to the Heavenly Pool Palace to rescue her niece. Just as he was about to overpower Yu Fengyu, the Heavenly Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, Yu Fengyu summoned the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven and imprisoned him in the Thousand Chains prison. As such, not only was he unable to save Du Fei's niece, Du Xian, he was even trapped here with no way to leave. He didn't know if Duan Lingtian had helped him find the mystic E9 water chestnut ring. However, he did not expect to see Duan Lingtian in the Heavenly Pool Palace's Thousand Chains prison 200 years after he was imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison. Moreover, based on Duan Lingtian's position, it was clear he was not imprisoned by the Heavenly Pool Palace. Instead, he looked more like one of the Heavenly Pool Palace's prodigious disciples. Duan Lingtian, why are you here? Did you join the Heavenly Pool Palace? Pei Yuanji asked in astonishment. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Earlier, the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor sent me a voice transmission, saying someone wanted to help us escape from the Thousand Chains prison. Earlier, the old woman, the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor, Xue Jinhua, had sent a voice transmission to Pei Yuanji to inform him that a prodigious disciple from the Heavenly Pool Palace wanted to rescue them. The prodigious disciple from the Heavenly Pool Palace wanted to rescue them. Pei Yuanji only saw 2 people from the Heavenly Pool Palace. Moreover,
then he asked curiously,
he recognized one of them
Pei,
as
why
an
are you
elder
here?
from the Heavenly
Earlier,
Pool Palace.
I heard
from the
For
Golden
this
Flower
reason,
Celestial
he assumed
Emperor
the prodigious
that you
disciple
came to the
from the
Heavenly
Heavenly
Pool
Pool
Palace to
Palace
rescue
was Duan
someone.
Lingtian.
After you fought
Brother
with
Pei, it's
Yifeng
me,
Yu, the
Duan
palace
Lingtian
master of the
replied.
Heavenly Pool Palace. You were imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison? Yes, Pei Yuanji replied. I was imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison by the Heavenly Pool Palace's Heavenly Pool Palace. That's why I couldn't return to look for you. In fact, I didn't even have the time to do what you asked me to do. As he finished speaking, Pei Yuanji's tone carried a bit of guilt. Brother Pei, who are you here to rescue? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. In his opinion, the person must have a close relationship with Pei Yuanji for him to come all the way from the spirit overarching heaven to the boundless heaven. After all, the Heavenly Pool Palace was a heaven-grade force. Even if Pei Yuanji was strong, he would not want to offend a heaven-grade force unless he had to rescue someone. I'm here to rescue the niece of an old friend. Pei Yuanji sighed. An old friend's niece? Duan Lingtian was stunned when he heard Pei Yuanji's words. A bold thought appeared in his mind. He could not help but ask, Brother Pei, is the old friend you're talking about Senior Du Fei? How do you know about Du Fei? Did she leave a remnant of her will in the little world she left behind? Pei Yuanji's eyes widened slightly when he heard Duan Lingtian's question. Yes, Duan Lingtian nodded. Brother Pei, you asked me to bring the mystic Yang 9 water chestnut ring into the little world, to look for the mystic E9 water chestnut ring. I managed to find it. However, the mystic E9 water chestnut ring was in the possession of a remnant of Senior Du Fei's soul. After that, Senior Du Fei gave me the mystic E9 water chestnut ring. She also asked me to tell you to take care of Huan, on her behalf. Duan Lingtian said. Huana? Pei Yuanji asked. You mean the woman who was always by your side? Is she from the Phantom Fox clan? Yes, Duan Lingtian replied. Based on my understanding of Du Fei, she wouldn't have asked me to take care of her unless it was someone close to her. Is she related to Huaner in some way? Pei Yuanji asked again. Huaner calls her grandaunt. Duan Lingtian smiled wryly and said, Brother Pei, if I'm not mistaken, you came to the Heavenly Pool Palace to save Senior Du Fei's niece, Du Xian, right? Yes. Pei Yuanji looked at Duan Lingtian in shock. Then, as though he had just recalled something, his eyes widened slightly as he asked, Is Du Xian the person you're trying to save? Yes. Duan Lingtian replied with a wry smile on his face. Du Xian is Huaner's mother. Naturally, I'm not here to save Senior Du Xian. I'm here to save Senior Lian Xiu as well. I'm sure you know Senior Du Xian is here because of Senior Lian Xiu. That's why she's imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison, Duan Lingtian said. I really didn't expect such a coincidence. Pei Yuanji said with a sigh. However, I wonder what fortuitous encounter you've had in the past 200 years for you to have grown so strong. You actually know how to break the formation here. What's your current cultivation base? Pei Yuanji asked. I've just become a 6-combo Celestial Lord, Duan Lingtian replied. Why, you're a 6-combo Celestial Lord now? Pei Yuanji was naturally shocked by Duan Lingtian's words. The last time he saw the purple-clad young man was 200 years ago. He was only an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Duan Lingtian could not help but sigh inwardly when he learned the reason Pei Yuanji was imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison was because of Du Xian. Apart from that, he also learned about the relationship between Pei Yuanji and Du Fei through voice transmission. Brother Pei, the Yin-Yang 9 water chestnut ring is with Huaner. After I rescue Senior Du Xian and Senior Lian Qiu, I'll bring them to see Huaner. I'll return the ring to you, Duan Lingtian said. There's no need for that. Pei Yuanji replied through voice transmission with a smile. Since Huaner is her grandniece, just leave the Yin-Yang 9 water chestnut ring to her. The mystical Yang 9 water chestnut ring and the mystical Yin 9 water chestnut ring are royal-grade celestial weapons that Du Fei and I used in the past. At that time, she wasn't even a celestial lord yet. A hint of nostalgia could be seen in his eyes as he spoke. It was as though he had returned to the days when he was with Du Fei. Duan Lingtian was relieved when he saw Pei Yuanji. He was confident he would be able to rescue Huaner's parents if he rescued the 6 titled celestial emperors. Perhaps other titled celestial emperors would ignore him after they escaped. However, Pei Yuanji would not ignore him. In fact, Pei Yuanji might even escort him and Huaner's parents out of this place. After all, Huaner's mother was the niece of Du Fei, Big Brother Pei's close female friend. The reason Big Brother Pei was imprisoned here was because of her. Brother Pei, what's your title? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Wu Chun. Pei Yuanji replied. Wu Chun Celestial Emperor? Duan Lingtian's eyes glinted as he said. That suits your temperament, Brother Pei. What about you? Did you go to the title temple to obtain the title of a titled celestial lord? Pei Yuanji asked with a smile. I went there some time ago. Duan Lingtian nodded. What title? Misty Rain. Duan Lingtian did not expect to meet Pei Yuanji in the Thousand Chains prison. Moreover, Pei Yuanji's goal was the same as Pei Yuanji's. Over the next 5 days, he continued to chat with Pei Yuanji through voice transmission. During these 5 days, Pei Yuanji had also conversed with the other 5 titled celestial emperors. Even Shuejin Hua, the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor, was much more courteous to Pei Yuanji when she found out Pei Yuanji was acquainted with Pei Yuanji. Although Pei Yuanji was imprisoned before Shuejin Hua, the other 4 titled celestial emperors treated him with respect. This is bad, since he was the strongest among them. Elder Xia from the heavenly pool palace, who was sitting cross-legged next to Duan Lingtian, considered to be above average among the top-tier titled celestial changed drastically. In this world, soon as the formation on the 3rd floor of the prison was destroyed. 5 days passed in just a blink of an eye for Duan in the next moment. And the others. How's this possible? Let's begin. 5 days later. Get out? Pei Yuanji called out to the other 5 celestial emperors who were imprisoned on the 3rd floor of the Thousand Chains using the method Duan Lingtian out of the formation. Boom, and were standing near him. The formation in the lead was a young man dressed in a long white robe. He was Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic celestial emperor. Pei Yuanji was not a stranger to the old man. In fact, he had a deep impression of Pei Yuanji. After all, Pei Yuanji was the only titled celestial emperor in the Thousand Chains prison who was not a member of the Heavenly Pool Palace. The titled celestial emperor was personally imprisoned by the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven. He's out as well. The old man's face was ashen. He did not expect Pei Yuanji to escape as well. After all, even the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace was helpless against Pei Yuanji. In fact, if the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace had not brought the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven here, the old man would have been defeated by Pei Yuanji. At this moment, the old man's face was as pale as a sheet of paper when he saw Pei Yuanji leading the 6 titled celestial emperors. In that instant, he even had the will to die, and he felt that he was definitely going to die. Let's go. However, what the old man didn't expect was that Pei Yuanji and the others didn't have any intention of attacking him. Instead, Pei Yuanji looked to the side of the old man and greeted him with a faint smile. What's going on? The old man's expression changed as he instinctively looked at the person beside him. He saw Su Yixi, the seventh disciple of Su Lang, the Verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor, and the junior brother of Su Yixi, one of the 3 head wardens of the Thousand Chains prison. Upon hearing Pei Yuanji's words, Su Yixi nodded and said, "All right. It's him." The old man's eyes widened. He would have lived in vain if he still could not figure out that the young man before him was the one who had released the titled Celestial Emperors. Noticing the old man's complicated gaze, Duan Lingtian looked back at him and smiled. "Elder Xie, if there's nothing else, you can stay here. It's too dangerous outside." With that, Duan Lingtian and Pei Yuanji took the lead and walked down to the 3rd floor of the prison, while the other 5 people followed closely behind. Although the 5 titled Celestial Emperors were prideful and arrogant, they were extremely obedient to Pei Yuanji's command. "Little Xie, you have to thank that Ling Tian brat. If it wasn't for that Ling Tian brat telling us to spare your life, you would already be dead." The fat old man Ma Qi, the Jilei Celestial Emperor, patted Elder Xie's shoulder as he walked past him. Then, he chuckled before he left with Duan Lingtian and the others. Elder Xie was stunned when he saw the 5 titled Celestial Emperors leaving. He smiled bitterly as he muttered to himself, "I didn't expect Duan Lingtian to have such a trick up his sleeve." At this moment, not only was the old man not angry, but he was also grateful. He knew that the Jilei Celestial Emperor had no reason to lie to him. He was certain that Duan Lingtian was the one who had allowed him to live. Therefore, he was extremely grateful to Duan Lingtian. As for why Duan Lingtian had allowed Elder Xie to leave, the Thousand Chains
even if
prison
he was
is going
not
to be
here,
chaotic soon.
he would not have been able to stop
for me
Duan
to stay
Lingtian.
here. The
Put
old
aside
man
the fact
recalled
that
Duan
Duan
Lingtian's
Lingtian
words did not
and sat
intentionally
down
deceive
cross-legged to
or
continue
use him from the beginning as though nothing had happened. Even if
However,
Duan
the truth
Lingtian
was,
had
he was
deceived and
extremely
used him,
agitated.
it was not
He
worth
could not calm
mentioning
down
compared
even
to
after
his
a
life.
long time.
On the other side, when Duan Lingtian and Pei Yuanji descended to the 3rd floor, they immediately made their way to the cells where Du Xian and Lian Qiu were imprisoned. They did not stop at all. "Duan Lingtian, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be on duty on the 3rd floor? Who's he?" The 2 prodigious disciples on duty on the 2nd floor were stunned when they saw Duan Lingtian and Pei Yuanji. Pei Yuanji was imprisoned on the 3rd floor, and the 2 prodigious disciples had once been on duty there. However, since Pei Yuanji rarely showed himself, they did not recognize him as one of the 6 titled Celestial Emperors imprisoned on the 3rd floor. However, when they saw the 5 titled Celestial Emperors behind Duan Lingtian and Pei Yuanji, their expressions changed drastically. Pei Yuanji rarely left the house, so they did not recognize him. However, the 5 titled Celestial Emperors often left their wooden huts. Therefore, the prodigious disciples were able to recognize them. Why are they out here? The formation on the 3rd floor has been broken. Does this mean the white-clad young man next to Duan Lingtian is the elusive Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, who rarely leaves his wooden hut? All 6 titled Celestial Emperors are out. The faces of the 2 geniuses instantly turned extremely pale. Their legs began to tremble, and they were unable to move for a long time. Swoosh! Duan Lingtian's figure flashed as he made his move. Before the 2 prodigious disciples could react, he knocked them out and kicked them to the side. Soon after, Duan Lingtian and Pei Yuanji arrived at Lian Qiu's cell. Before Duan Lingtian could greet him, Lian Qiu heard a series of footsteps approaching him. When he opened his eyes, he saw 7 people standing outside his cell. He recognized one of the 2 people standing in the front. It was the young man his daughter was in love with. "Brother Pei." Duan Lingtian greeted Pei Yuanji. Pei Yuanji continued to use the method Duan Lingtian had taught him to break the formation around Lian Qiu's cell. "Thank you, my lord." Lian Qiu could tell Pei Yuanji was a titled Celestial Emperor. He quickly rose to his feet and thanked Pei Yuanji respectfully. A man who can't even protect his woman isn't a good man. Pei Yuanji looked at Lian Qiu meaningfully before he walked to the side and opened the cell where Du Xian was imprisoned. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's voice transmission rang in Lian Qiu's ears. Senior Lian Qiu, Brother Pei and Senior Du Xian's aunt, Du Fei, are a couple. Senior Du Xian can address Brother Pei as her uncle. Brother Pei is imprisoned here because he wanted to save Senior Du Xian. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Lian Qiu's eyes widened in shock. He's Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, who was imprisoned by the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven? Although Lian Qiu had heard of Pei Yuanji before, it was only hearsay. 200 years ago, some of the prison guards on duty in the Thousand Chains prison were chatting in private. They told him that a big shot had been imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison 200 years ago. The important figure was none other than Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor. Lord Pei Yuanji was imprisoned because he wanted to save Xianer? He's Xianer's uncle? Lian Qiu was dumbfounded. Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and save your woman. Lian Qiu only regained his senses when Pei Yuanji's voice rang in the air. He hastily rushed into the cell, where Pei Yuanji had broken open, and carried the blood-stained white phantom fox out. Lian Qiu's eyes were filled with emotions when he carried the phantom fox out of the cell. If you let her suffer again in the future, I won't let you off. Pei Yuanji was already feeling guilty about what had happened to Du Fei. His expression was unsightly when he saw Du Fei's niece was in such a predicament because of Lian Qiu. Don't worry, Senior. Lian Qiu looked at the phantom fox in his arms and muttered, I'll protect Xianer with my life. No one is allowed to touch her. Everyone listen up. At the same time, Pei Yuanji lowered his voice and said to everyone who was imprisoned on the second floor of the cell, I'll let all of you out now. I don't care what you do after you leave the Thousand Chains prison. However, before you leave the Thousand Chains prison, you'll have to line up behind us obediently. If anyone dares to mess around, I'll kill them. As soon as Pei Yuanji finished speaking, he stomped his foot before a khaki-colored energy surged out of his feet and opened all the cells on the second floor. Thank you, my lord. Duan Lingtian and Pei Yuanji continued to make their way down to the first level of the confinement prison as the group of people thanked them. This was because there were various formations between every level of the prison, including a soundproof formation. Therefore, even if there was a huge commotion on the second level, the people on the first level would not be able to detect it. Soon after, Duan Lingtian saw Lei Jun, and the elder of the Thousand Chains prison on the first level of the Thousand Chains prison. Duan Lingtian? Lei Jun frowned when he saw Duan Lingtian on the first floor of the Thousand Chains prison. On the other hand, the expression of the old man next to Lei Jun changed drastically when he saw Pei Yuanji. Why are you here? The two prodigious disciples from the Heavenly Pool Palace on the second floor of the Thousand Chains prison did not recognize Pei Yuanji. Similar to Elder Xia on the third floor of the Thousand Chains prison, he recognized Pei Yuanji with just a glance. Elder, who's he? Lei Jun asked curiously. Chapter 33-32. Pei Yuanji, 200 the Nirvanic years ago, Celestial Emperor. The battle between Pei Yuanji, the old man replied bitterly. The Nirvanic Celestial Emperor. The Nirvanic Celestial Emperor? The palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace When he
shocked
heard
the
the
old
entire
man's
heavenly
words.
pool palace.
He had heard about
battle
the
took
Nirvanic
place
celestial
outside the
emperor
heavenly
from
pool
his mother's
palace's estate,
laying
only the
merciless
celestial emperors
more than
in the
once.
heavenly pool palace
Therefore,
had witnessed it.
he knew the Nirvanic
Jun's
celestial
mother,
emperor
Lei
was a
the
titled
merciless celestial emperor was
whom
one of
even
them.
Yufeng
Due to this,
the palace
Lei
master of
Jun
the
learned
heavenly
about the
pool
battle
palace
from his mother
was no
Lei.
match for.
Therefore, he knew how terrifying the Nirvanic celestial emperor was. Why is the Nirvanic celestial emperor here? Also, why is he with Duanling Tian? At this moment, Lei Jun was confused. He did not expect Duanling Tian to be the one who released Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic celestial emperor. After all, Duanling Tian was not capable of doing so. Ever since Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic immortal emperor, had been imprisoned for a while, the formation of the Thousand Chains prison had been strengthened. Even the elders of the Thousand Chains prison were unable to rescue him from the formation, let alone the disciples and guards. This was especially true for the formation on the third floor of the Thousand Chains prison, where the 6 titled celestial emperors were imprisoned. Only the 3 wardens knew how to activate the formation. That's right. Suyasi is Duan Lingtian's eldest senior sister. Did Suyasi tell Duan Lingtian how to activate the formation? Lei Jun was still thinking to himself. At this moment, the other 5 titled celestial emperors, who had escaped from the 3rd floor of the Thousand Chains prison, came down from the 2nd floor of the Thousand Chains prison. The old man's expression changed again when he saw this. It's over. It's over. Why are they all here? The old man even recognized Pei Yuanji, the mysterious Nirvanic celestial emperor, who was imprisoned on the 3rd floor of the Thousand Chains prison. It was only natural that he recognized the other 5 titled celestial emperors. Lei Jun's expression changed drastically when he learned that the 5 titled celestial emperors, who had escaped from the 3rd floor of the Thousand Chains prison. Duan Lingtianyu, how dare you work with Suyasi to release these titled celestial emperors? Do you know that you're punishable by death? The Heavenly Pool Palace won't let you go. Lei Jun looked at Duan Lingtian and said in a deep voice, "Eldest senior sister?" Duan Lingtian was slightly taken aback when he heard Lei Jun mentioning Suyasi, Su Lang's eldest senior sister. However, when he regained his senses, he knew Lei Jun must have thought Suyasi had joined forces with him to release the 6 titled celestial emperors. Lei Jun, is there something wrong with your head? Duan Lingtian sneered and said, "If my senior sister wants to release someone, does she need me to do it? Wouldn't it be easier for her to do it herself? If it wasn't for Suyasi, why did you activate those arrays?" Lei Jun had a look of disbelief. "Open." Duan Lingtian smiled. "Who said I activated those array formations? Those formations were only broken by Big Brother Pei and the others." "Impossible." The old man next to Lei Jun shook his head as soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking. "Those formations are very special. If they could break them, they would have done it a long time ago. Why would they wait until now? Naturally, I taught them how to break the formations." Duan Lingtian said indifferently. "You?" The old man's eyes widened in shock. Then, his expression darkened as he said,
As soon as the old
Duan
man finished
Lingtian,
speaking,
"Do you know that even if they
the
managed
profound
to
ice
escape,
celestial emperor,
the Heavenly Pool
who was
Palace
standing
will hunt
behind
you down
Duan
for what you've
Lingtian,
done today?"
and Pei Yuanji,
the Heavenly Emperor
shouted
of the
coldly.
boundless heaven,
As soon
is
as
behind the
Xianbing's
heavenly
voice
pool
rang in the
palace.
air.
Pei
A cold
Yuanji
aura
is
filled the
imprisoned by
entire
the
first
heavenly
floor of the
emperor
prison.
himself. Then,
If you
an
release
ice
him now,
spike shot
the
out from
heavenly
under the
emperor
feet
will
of the
definitely
prison
kill
elder.
you.
In the blink
The
of
old
an
man
eye,
threatened.
the ice spike pierced through the elder's body and froze him into ice. Shatter! Xianbing's cold voice rang in the air. The elder's frozen body shattered and turned into mist before it fell to the ground. It was as though he had never existed. However, if one looked closely, one could still see black and red droplets of blood on the floor. Swoosh! Lei Jun only regained his senses after the prison elder beside him was killed. His expression changed drastically in an instant. Everyone! Everyone! My mother is Lei Ying, the merciless celestial emperor of the Heavenly Pool Palace. Don't kill me. You can't kill me. Lei Jun cried out in a trembling voice when he saw the elder, who was stronger than him, was killed in just a blink of an eye. In the face of life and death, no matter how arrogant Lei Jun usually was in front of others, he was completely terrified at this moment. It was as if he had been beaten back to his original state. Lei Jun. Duan Lingtian looked at Lei Jun and said with a grin, "Do you know why I released them?" Lei Jun looked at Pei Yuanji and the others warily, before he instinctively looked at Duan Lingtian. Although he did not say anything, his eyes were filled with confusion. "I did it to save Huaner's parents." As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Lian Qiu walked down from the second floor with Du Xian's snow fox in his arms. Lei Jun's attention was immediately drawn to Lian Qiu. Lei Jun's eyes were filled with confusion. "There's one more thing I want to tell you. Huaner and I entered the Heavenly Pool Palace to save Huaner's parents." Duan Lingtian continued to say, "Both of you entered the Heavenly Pool Palace with ulterior motives?" Lei Jun's expression changed drastically. He did not expect his third junior sister, and the purple-clad young man, had entered the Heavenly Pool Palace to save Huaner's parents. "That's a phantom fox?" "A phantom fox. He's Lian Qiu, the prodigy from the Heavenly Sword Mountain in the solitary destructive heaven, who refused to marry the palace master's daughter?" Seeing the white phantom fox in Lian Qiu's arms, although Lei Jun did not know Lian Qiu, and had never seen him before, he had heard of him. "Junior sister Huaner is their daughter?" Lei Jun found it hard to believe. "Brother Pei seniors." At the same time, Duan Lingtian greeted Pei Yuanji, the 5 titled celestial emperors, and Lian Qiu. "I have some enmity with Lei Jun. Why don't we leave after I've dealt with him? There's no rush." Pei Yuanji smiled faintly. "There's a formation here that prevents outsiders from knowing what's going on." "We'll leave after you've dealt with your matters." The prison's formation sealed off everything, including communication and sound. For this reason, outsiders would not know what was going on in the prison. "Ling Tian, I haven't seen you in action before. This is a good opportunity for me to see you in action." The fat old man Ma Qi, the Ji-Lei Celestial Emperor, said with a grin on his face. The other titled Celestial Emperors and Lian Qiu turned to look at Duan Lingtian curiously. They were curious about Duan Lingtian's strength. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Lei Jun's expression changed drastically. "Duan Lingtian, are you mistaken? There's no enmity between us." Lei Jun was no match for Duan Lingtian, let alone Duan Lingtian, who had a group of titled celestial emperors by his side. A year ago, even Han Yunjin, who was stronger than him, had died in Duan Lingtian's hands in the death arena. There was no way he would be able to survive if he fought Duan Lingtian. "You think there's no enmity between us?" Duan Lingtian said with a bright smile on his face. "Aren't you embarrassed to say that? Back then, weren't you the one who went with Han Yunjin to Duga Wen and Duga Wu, and paid a huge price to have them kill me?" Duan Lingtian's eyes turned cold as he spoke. "Duan Lingtian, what are you talking about? I don't understand. What Duga Wen? Duga Wu?" Lei Jun was at a loss, but his eyes flickered with uncertainty. However, he still suppressed his anger and suppressed his emotions. "A few months ago, when I returned to the Heavenly Pool Palace, Duga Wu was waiting outside. Are you trying to say you're not the one who told him I left the Heavenly Pool Palace?" Duan Lingtian asked mockingly as his eyes turned colder. "Of course it wasn't me." Lei Jun shook his head. "Duan Lingtian, there's no enmity between us. Why would I harm you? Even if I wanted to harm you, I would need a reason, right? Otherwise, why would I go through so much trouble to harm you? Am I right?" Lei Jun continued to play dumb. There's no enmity between us? Reason. Duan Lingtian laughed. How dare you say there's no enmity between us? You're really thick-skinned for the sake of your life. Do you think I don't know the reason? Huaner. In the end, Duan Lingtian uttered her name. Moreover, I found your soul orb in Dugu Wen's spatial ring. Huaner was the one who recognized your soul orb. Duan Lingtian's eyes turned cold at this moment. Celestial origin energy surged out of his body as he prepared to make a move. At this moment, Lei Jun's expression changed drastically. He fell to his knees and said, Duan Lingtian, I was wrong. I shouldn't have coveted junior sister Huaner. Please spare me. Please spare me. As long as you don't kill me and threaten me to leave, I can make my mother not interfere with your escape. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. In order to survive, Lei Jun was willing to do anything. He was even willing to become Duan Lingtian's hostage. Your mother,
Chapter 33,
the merciless
33.
celestial emperor,
No,
Lei Jun, however,
lost all his
Duan
will to fight,
Lingtian could not
was
help
powerless
but laugh
against
when he
the
heard
joint
Lei
attack
Jun's
of the
words.
two Ning dragons.
Everything that I've
In
planned
just a
and
blink of
schemed
an eye,
against your mother
he was
would have
drowned
ended
by
up
the
the
Ning
same
dragon's
whether she
power.
did or not.
In just a blink
For
of
this
an eye,
reason, Lei
there's
Jun
no need
died
for
in a
us to
worse
threaten
state
you.
than the elder
Initially,
from the
I
Thousand
planned to
Chains
kill you
prison.
myself.
At the very
I didn't
least,
expect you
the
to be
elder
so
from
cowardly.
the Thousand Chains
As
prison
soon as Duan
had some
Lingtian
dried blood
finished
left
speaking,
behind. He
those
released
were
the two Ning
Ning
dragons
dragons
from his little world.
Lingtian,
Roar! I didn't
roar.
expect you to
The
have
two
such
Ning
a
dragons
technique. Casually
the
opened
joint
their
attack
mouths
of the
and
two
spat
Ning
out a
dragons
terrifying power,
is comparable to
heading
the full
straight for
strength
Lei
attack
Jun of an ordinary titled celestial emperor. Ma Qi, the Jilei celestial emperor, and Xuejin Hua, the golden flower celestial emperor, were shocked when they saw Duan Lingtian killing Lei Jun with just a thought. Naturally, they were even more surprised that Duan Lingtian was able to tame a ferocious celestial beast like the Ning dragon. After all, it was rare for a Ning dragon to acknowledge someone as its master. Most Ning dragons were unruly and would rather die than submit. You won't die if you don't seek death. Duan Lingtian had watched Lei Jun's death coldly from the beginning until the end. He had never thought of making an enemy out of Lei Jun. However, since Lei Jun wanted him dead, he would not sit back and do nothing. After leaving the Heavenly Pool Palace, he did not know when he would have the opportunity to return to the Heavenly Pool Palace, let alone seek revenge from Lei Jun. He did not expect Lei Jun to apply to become a prison guard in the Thousand Chains prison. This was a good opportunity for him to seek revenge. If Lei Jun had not given him this opportunity, he did not know when he would be able to seek revenge from Lei Jun seniors. Let's leave this place first. We can chat later. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian sent the two Ning dragons back to his little world. Then he said to the titled celestial emperors who had spoken to him, "Two of them are dead. Although it's impossible for them to send a message out, their soul pearls must have shattered. Those who have their soul pearls must know they're dead. Lei Jun's mother is Lei Ying, the merciless celestial emperor from the Heavenly Pool Palace. Now that Lei Ying finds out about her son's death, she'll definitely investigate the matter. I'm afraid it won't be long before she comes to the Thousand Chains prison," Duan Lingtian said. "I'm sure she'll contact the other titled celestial emperors as soon as she discovers we've escaped. That's why we should try our best to leave Thousand Chains prison before she arrives. This way, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace and the others won't find out about our departure so soon." Duan Lingtian finished in one breath. The other titled celestial emperors agreed with Duan Lingtian's words. After all, they did not want to offend the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace and the others. Of course, there are people waiting for us outside. However, all he can do is help us restrain the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace. If the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace discovers that all of you, including Big Brother Pei, have escaped, he might send a message to the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. If the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven comes, I'm afraid all of you will be imprisoned again," Duan Lingtian continued. Of course, Duan Lingtian knew that if the Heavenly Monarch of the Boundless Heavens came, he wouldn't be able to kill Pei Yuanji and the others. He would only be able to imprison them. Huaner's parents were destined to be imprisoned again. "Let's go," Pei Yuanji said. Following that, he and Duan Lingtian walked out of the prison. At the same time, To prevent them from leaking
information
to the higher-ups
had
of
taught
the
him to
heavenly
break
pool
the
palace.
formation at the
He had
entrance of the
decided
prison.
not to release them.
Initially,
We're out.
Duan Lingtian
After leaving
had
the
planned to
thousand
release
chains
the
prison
people from the
they
heavenly
arrived
pool
at a
palace,
spacious
who
area
were
where the life
imprisoned
or
on the
death
first
platform
floor of the prison
and the life or death pavilion were located. They could see a few people on the life or death platform when Duan Lingtian and the others left the area and were about to enter the passage to the Purgatory Palace. A few figures suddenly flew out of the life or death pavilion. Stop! Who are you? The newcomers were a few elders from the life or death pavilion. There were old men and middle-aged men among them. All of them were glaring at Duan Lingtian and the others from the life or death pavilion. At this moment, Duan Lingtian and the others had caused a huge commotion. It was difficult for the elders to not notice them. Get lost if you don't want to die. A figure rose into the air. A young man with a cold demeanor looked coldly at the few elders from the life or death hall and cried out in a cold voice. The profound Ice Celestial Emperor. The elders from the life or death pavilion had once been on duty in the prison. Naturally, they recognized the young man. He was none other than the profound Ice Celestial Emperor, one of the titled Celestial Emperors, imprisoned on the third floor of the prison. If I see you again in the next 10 breaths, don't blame me for not showing mercy. After the young man with a cold aura rose into the air, an old man with messy gray hair followed suit. He smiled at the elders from the life or death pavilion in the distance. The White Deer Celestial Emperor. The elders from the life or death pavilion were shocked when they saw the profound Ice Celestial Emperor. However, they were even more shocked when they saw the old man. For a moment they thought they were dreaming. The two titled Celestial Emperors on the third floor of the prison had escaped. They recognized the old man as Kubai Lu, the White Deer Celestial Emperor. Let's go. Don't waste our time here, Pei Yuanji said indifferently. Although Pei Yuanji did not turn around, he was still leading the way. His long robes fluttered in the wind. His tall and large figure hid in front of the few Hall of Life and Death Hall elders. This allowed them to vaguely guess who this person was. Based on his attire, it was obvious he was the leader of the group, since he dared to speak to the two titled Celestial Emperors in such a manner. He was none other than Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor. The faces of the elders from the life or death pavilion paled in fright. They looked at each other before they fled back to the life or death pavilion. The Thousand Chains prison is going to change soon. The Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, the Profound Ice Celestial Emperor, and the White Deer Celestial Emperor have escaped. The other three titled Celestial Emperors must be with them as well. Six titled Celestial Emperors escaping together. This has never happened before in the history of the Heavenly Pool Palace's Thousand Chains prison, right? How did they escape? Can they break through the Plaza of Termination? The formation in the Plaza of Termination isn't much more complicated than the formation on the third floor of the prison. Since they can break through the formation there, they should be able to break through the formation in the Plaza of Termination as well. An uproar broke out in the life or death pavilion. Even the Heavenly Pool Palace elders and prodigious disciples who were comprehending the law of death on the life or death platform were shocked. However, none of them dared to leave the life or death pavilion. What a joke! If the group of titled Celestial Emperors saw them following the life or death pavilion, they might even attack them out of anger. At that time, they would definitely die. Meanwhile, after Duan Lingtian and the others left the life or death pavilion, they passed through a passage and entered a spacious area. This was where the Purgatory Palace was located. They could vaguely see people entering and exiting the Purgatory Palace. Moreover, there were more people here compared to the life or death pavilion. Duan Lingtian's group of close to 100 people had arrived in a grandiose manner. Naturally, it attracted everyone's attention. However, Duan Lingtian and the others did not pay attention to the people who were looking at them from afar. Instead, they made their way to the entrance of the Internal Affairs Pavilion. After passing through the Internal Affairs Pavilion, they would arrive at the Plaza of Termination. As long as they passed through the Plaza of Termination, they would be able to leave the Thousand Chains prison. At that time, they would be able to fly freely. Initially, I was worried that the titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace, who had escaped from the Thousand Chains prison, would be distracted and stop me, Senior Lian Qiu and Senior Du Xian. However, based on the current situation, there is no need to worry about this problem. The other titled celestial emperors might not care about Senior Lian Qiu, Senior Du Xian, and me, but Brother Pei will definitely care. With Big Brother Pei around, we shouldn't be in any danger unless he can't escape. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian calmed down. Moreover, just as he had said to Lei Jun, everything was under his control. Since he had lured the Verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor away, there were only 7 titled Celestial Emperors left in the Heavenly Pool Palace. Meanwhile, Yu Fengyu, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, had arranged for Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, from the Heavenly Palace of the Solitary Destructive Heaven, to help him deal with the 7 titled Celestial Emperors. It would be easy for Pei Yuanji, that's Feng and the others, to deal with the remaining 6 titled Celestial Emperors. Prison. It was to the extent that as long as Pei Yuanji's group of 6 many of the people standing behind those 6 people were absolutely no match for them. Black-clad they could only watch as they escaped. Their eyes were filled with hatred as they looked at the black-clad and the others were about to enter the passageway. These people were the ones who had been tortured in the Purgatory Pavilion. Whoosh! Feng Qihan, whoosh, the pavilion master of the Purgatory Pavilion. The sound of wind whistling could be heard as more than a dozen figures. Many of those who had been tortured with them, they were led by a middle-aged man dressed in a black robe. For this cold expression on his face, they hated Feng Qihan very much. The black-clad middle-aged man asked coldly as he arrived above Duan Lingtian, raised an eyebrow and as he looked at the black-clad middle-aged man. Was this the person who was at loggerheads with his eldest and the others instinctively came to a halt when they saw the black-clad middle-aged man. Chapter 33-34. The Pavilion Master of the Purgatory Palace? After Pei Yuanji, who was walking side by side with Duan Ling Tian, stopped moving, he looked up into the sky and his eyes narrowed abruptly as he said indifferently, "How impressive." Although Pei Yuanji's voice wasn't loud, it seemed to contain a special magical power, causing the Purgatory Hall Master Fang Qihan's gaze to immediately land on him. When he saw Pei Yuanji's appearance clearly, his expression changed greatly in an instant. The white-clad young man was none other than Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, whom even Yu Fengyu, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, could not deal with. Moreover, even the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven did not have the ability to kill Pei Yuanji. He could only imprison Pei Yuanji in the Thousand Chains prison. But he did not expect Brother Pei to be so strong. That time, in just the blink of an eye, more than a dozen celestial emperors led by Fang Qihan into the Thousand Chains, the Hall Master of the Purgatory Hall, person who led the way to the third floor of the prison. Fang Qihan was close to becoming a titled celestial emperor. The space around Purgatory Hall Master Fang Qihan began to tremble. Who was hugging the white phantom fox, an earth and yellow energy appeared. A hint of respect could be seen in his eyes, and the dozen or so people he had brought with him could react. He knew how strong Fang Qihan was since he had already swept out in all directions. However, it was as if it had turned into waves was like a chicken in front of the white-robed young man before him. Boom! Unable to withstand a single blow, swept out from all directions. Pei Yuanji said indifferently as everyone looked at him in awe. Causing Fang Qihan he led the others to instantly fall into a situation. A group of people followed surrounded on all sides. Let's go with Brother Pei. What a powerful energy who had just been punished in the Purgatory Palace, energy and the vast aura of the law of earth swept towards them. The expressions of the dozen or so from their Purgatory Palace elders chasing after Pei Yuanji and the others. And the elders of the Purgatory Pavilion did not dare to stop these people, even though more than 10 elders of the Purgatory Palace made their moves. They were not sure if Pei Yuanji, 8 immortals crossing the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, each of them displayed their divine abilities. After all kinds of laws and profundities were displayed, they would definitely die. There was no lack of one of the four of the Purgatory Pavilion was stronger than any of them. Even so, he had still died their earlier. Attacks were like a rock sinking into the ocean. They were glad they did not follow the Pavilion Master of the Purgatory when they faced the menacing earth and yellow they would have died as well. Fang Qihan, Senior Lian, the Palace Master of the Purgatory Palace, after we leave the Thousand Chains beginning. When the elders of the Purgatory voice transmission to Lian, he had a pleading look on his face as he shouted. Lian nodded. Lord Pei, apart from gratitude, show mercy. There was also a hint of admiration in his eyes when he looked at Duan Ling Tian. And will no longer interfere in your matters. How is she now? Lord Pei, I beg you, through voice transmission, the Hall Master of the Purgatory Palace. One of the three wardens of the Thousand Chains Prison was like a dog wagging its tail. She wanted to come with begging for mercy, but I thought it was too dangerous. Even though I asked her to wait for me in my hometown, the surging waves of energy, if we manage to escape from the boundless heaven, instead, I'll bring you and Senior Duan Xian to my hometown. As the waves of energy continued to pile on top of one another. With tenderness when he spoke about Huan, when the forces from all directions collided, nodded. The despairing cries of excitement could be seen in the depths of his eyes. Heard. He looked at the unconscious white phantom fox in his arms waves of energy that contained the law of Earth's profundities collided with our daughter soon. Causing the void to tremble violently. Not only will you be able to see your daughter, as though the void would shatter at any moment. To see the son-in-law she found just for as everyone was shocked this by young the man is very outstanding. The power was instantly annihilated, and I'm satisfied as if it had never appeared. Although Lian Xiao, if it were not for the blood mist and spatial rings that fell from the sky, he had a good impression of Duan Ling Tian. Everyone would have thought that they were hallucinating. What terrifying control! Duan Ling Tian was shocked when he saw this. A hint of respect could be seen in his eyes as he looked at Pei Yuanji. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that Duan Ling Tian was able to settle down his daughter and risk his life to save them alone was enough to show that he was an extremely responsible young man. I don't know if there will be any blind fellows later. Ma Qi, the Ji Lei Celestial Emperor, said with a grin on his face when they were about to leave the Thousand Chains prison. Xianbing, old Pei. If there are any idiots later, don't send your powerhouses out. I'm itching for a fight as well. You're the only one who's itching for a fight? Ku Bailu, the Bailu Celestial Emperor, said snappily. Do you think I'm not itching for a fight as well? Alright, let's do it together later. However, old Pei and Xianbing can't do anything now, Ma Qi said. Although the atmosphere was rather relaxed now, it was only natural. Everyone, including Ma Qi and Ku Bailu, knew they could only relax in the Thousand Chains prison. After all, there were no titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace in the Thousand Chains prison. However, things were different now that they had left the Thousand Chains prison. When they arrived at the entrance of the Internal Affairs Hall, they naturally attracted the attention of the elders from the Internal Affairs Hall. However, the elders from the Internal Affairs Hall quickly spotted Pei Yuanji, who was leading the group. Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor? How did he get out? When the elders from the Internal Affairs Hall saw Pei Yuanji, they did not dare to approach Pei Yuanji. After all, they would only be courting death if they did. After all, Pei Yuanji was someone whom even the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace could not deal with. Isn't that Duan Lingtian? He's the seventh disciple of the Verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor, and Warden Su's little junior brother. Why is he with Pei Yuanji? Moreover, he doesn't look like he's being held hostage by Pei Yuanji. He looks more like Pei Yuanji's best friend. This Duan Lingtian wouldn't have come to rescue Pei Yuanji, right? Even if he wants to save Pei Yuanji, he has to be strong enough to do so. How do you explain this situation? If he didn't save Pei Yuanji, why would Pei Yuanji come out at this time? Look, the other 5 titled celestial emperors on the 3rd floor are behind Pei Yuanji as well. My goodness, all the titled celestial emperors on the 3rd floor have come out? Something's going to happen. Something big is going to happen. Should we report this? Report this? If you dare to leave the Internal Affairs Hall now, you'll be killed before you even reach the final square. Why don't you give it a try? Forget it. There were only a few elders on duty in the Internal Affairs Hall. When they saw Pei Yuanji and the others walking out of the final square, they did not dare to leave the final square. Things are going so smoothly. Immortal Emperor Ji Lei Ma Qi felt a little gloomy when he saw that no one from the Internal Affairs Hall had come out. All the titled celestial emperors from the people from the Internal Affairs Hall of the Thousand Chains prison are not as tough as the people from the Purgatory Hall. The people from the Internal Affairs Hall are smarter than the people from the Purgatory Pavilion. Ku Bailu, the White Deer Celestial Emperor, said. I'm used to it. Let's stop chatting. Now let's focus. Once we break the formation in the final square and leave the Thousand Chains prison, we'll have to face the titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace. Shuejin Hua, the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor, said. Due to the formation that separates the Thousand Chains prison from the 10,000 Chains prison, no one will know what's going on in there unless someone goes out to report it. At most, they'll know that someone has died in there through the shattering of their soul pearls. However, once we leave the Thousand Chains prison, our whereabouts will be exposed. Chapter 33-35. There were 9 titled celestial emperors in the heavenly pool palace. Even if 2 of the titled celestial emperors were lured away by disturb Lord Pei and the others from breaking the formation, titled celestial it'll mean that they're trying to stop us from leaving. There were only everyone 6 can join forces to kill these among people. Them. Naturally, if anyone dares there was to another make a move, titled celestial emperor outside the heavenly pool palace. The large group of people of holding where they were. The palace master none of them dared to make a move. Moreover, about there were 15 minutes later, and a strong gust of wind swept through that the square, as powerful as causing everyone's robes to flutter noisily. As long as they were careful, it would not be difficult for them to escape. The plaza of termination, including Duan shone brightly, had all held their breath, the plaza of termination, causing the atmosphere to become extremely quiet. This was the 4th time he had come to the plaza of termination. Opened his mouth. The first time was when his voice arrived at the Thousand Chains prison by everyone. The second time was when he first left the Thousand Chains prison. Let's split up and go our separate ways. The Thousand Chains whether or not a few days ago. Escape will depend on your luck. This was the 4th time he had come. Pei Yuanji, the plaza of termination, was the last checkpoint as they left the Thousand Chains prison. That was no longer protected by the formation. He had saved these strength. So that they could help him divert the attention of the formation was only comparable to the Thousand Chains prison was not part of the heavenly Thousand Chains protective grand formation. There were many powerful formations that could injure. There was still a surveillance formation outside. Titled celestial if anyone emperors. Tried to escape those from who the were not titled celestial emperors, they would be discovered immediately. If they tried to force their way through the plaza of termination, the palace master of the heavenly you and the other 5 seniors naturally work together the to other break titled the celestial emperors in the heavenly pool palace. It's all up to you now. Receive news of Yu Feng's escape. Duan Lingtian said to Pei Yuanji. It did not take long before Duan Lingtian. He had already and the others arrived at the entrance of the Thousand Chains about the method to break the formation. Elders of the Thousand Chains prison who were killed by Ma cleansing divine water had imparted to him. And Kubai Lu, Pei Yuanji nodded. Celestial Emperor. Then he spoke to the elders of the titled celestial emperors, did not even have time to react. When they all stood in their respective positions, celestial emperors, Pei Yuanji's eyes suddenly focused. After everyone gathered near the entrance of the Thousand Chains prison, as soon as Pei Yuanji finished ordered everyone, apart from Xian Duan celestial emperor, to leave the Thousand Chains prison at the same time. Pei Yuanji, guarding the entrance of the celestial emperors, emitted waves of rolling yellow energy. The profound ice celestial emperor was proficient in the law of ice and the law of earth. Finally out. However, heavenly he was most proficient in the law of ice. We'll settle this score in the future. Although his attainments in the law of earth were not bad, as soon as the group of people left the Thousand Chains prison, use the law of ice. They shouted loudly before they fled as fast as they could. At the same time, the law of earth, Duan Lingtian, they did not specialize in other laws. Thousand Chains prison as well. When they needed to use offensive power, as soon as they left the Thousand Chains prison that was least suited for offensive power, familiar figure flying in their direction because they had no other choice. It was none other than Lei Ying. Everyone stay where you are. Celestial Emperor. If anyone dares to move, it seems like Lei Ying already knows about her son's death. Duan Lingtian summoned the 2 named dragons from his small world. They floated in the air and glared at the group behind him. Although there shouldn't be any problems with these people, in order to prevent anyone from disturbing Pei Yuanji and the others from breaking the formation, he still felt that it was better to be a little more careful. Whoosh! Whoosh, 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 whoosh. At this moment Lian Xiao, who was standing next to Duan Lingtian, had also sent his wife into his small world. At this moment, Sword Qi was revolving around his body. Similarly, he glared at the group of people behind him. Don't worry, brother. We won't allow anyone to disturb Lord Pei and the others from breaking the formation. A middle-aged burly man said with a grin on his face. That's right. Many people agreed with his words. Brother Pei, Senior Lian Qiu, and the other seniors, let's go that way. After all, Duan Lingtian had discussed this matter with Pei Yuanji and the other titled celestial emperors before they left. Therefore, they decided to leave together to avoid being attacked one by one. The direction Duan Lingtian pointed to was the location where he had agreed to meet up with Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, the Heavenly Emperor of the Solitary Destructive Heaven, Senior Meng Chuan. At this moment, Duan Lingtian sent a voice transmission to Meng Chuan. I'm out. The other 6 titled celestial emperors from the Thousand Chains prison are with me. If you meet up with us, it won't be difficult for you to escape from the 7 titled celestial emperors from the heavenly pool palace. While Duan Lingtian was talking to Meng Chuan through voice transmission, Meng Chuan, who was waiting at the location where they had agreed to meet up, made his way to the Thousand Chains prison. While Duan Lingtian and the others were getting closer to Meng Chuan, Lei Ying, the merciless celestial emperor, who was rushing over from afar, saw the chaotic scene outside the Thousand Chains prison. Although Duan Lingtian was among the group of people, she did not notice him at all. Nevertheless, she did notice 2 of the 6 titled celestial emperors who were with Duan Lingtian. She was familiar with the 2 titled celestial emperors since she had interacted with Duan Lingtian before. Palace Master, a large number of prisoners have escaped from the Thousand Chains prison. Among them are the Scouring Cloud Celestial Emperor and the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor. There's also a white-clad young man with them. Apart from that, there are 3 other titled celestial emperors who resembled the Profound Ice Celestial Emperor, the White Deer Celestial Emperor, and the Ji-Lei Celestial Emperor. Lei Ying hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Yu Fengyu, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace. At the same time, Lei Ying sent several messages to the other 7 titled celestial emperors in the Heavenly Pool Palace, telling them to come to the Thousand Chains prison as soon as possible before she left. Naturally, along the way, Lei Ying killed some of the prisoners who had escaped from the Thousand Chains prison. These people were unlucky enough to have chosen to escape in the same direction as Duan Lingtian and the others. Therefore, they were killed by Lei Ying as easily as slaughtering chickens and dogs. I've just received a message from a few elders who are monitoring the entrance of the Thousand Chains prison. When Yu Fengyu, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, spoke to Lei Ying calmly. However, Lei Ying could sense the anger in his voice. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Not long after, 8 figures followed closely behind Lei Ying and gathered together with her. The person in the lead was none other than Yu Fengyu, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, the Meng Chong Celestial Emperor, the Cold Gloom Celestial Emperor, the Verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor, was also present. One of the top 5 prodigious disciples, the Martial Dragon Celestial Emperor. The other woman was dressed in a light profound heaven with a zither in her arms, and the smoke she had an celestial temperament were also present and was extremely beautiful. There were 3 other people present she moved as well. Like the wind. 2 of them were women, elegant, and one was a man. She was none other than one of the women was dressed in a long black robe. Her long hair was draped over her shoulders like a water body, and her delicate face exuded a cold aura. However, his eyes shone with a wolfish light. She was the Cold Gloom Celestial Emperor from the Heavenly Celestial Emperor. She was as famous as the Profound Heaven Celestial Emperor in the Heavenly Pool Palace. She was widely acknowledged as one of the 2 titled celestial emperors, whose strength was second only to Yu Fengyu, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace. Chapter 33-36. Laying, which direction did they go? Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, and the Mengchang Celestial Emperor, asked calmly as he looked in the direction Laying was leading. Yu Fengyu was wearing a long white robe. His face was as handsome as jade, and there was a majestic aura between his brows. Although his tone was very calm, there was a terrifying light in the depths of his eyes. It was as if he was about to devour someone. Yes, Laying nodded. Are you sure the 6 of them left together? Yu Fengyu asked again. Yes. Laying nodded again. This time, let's catch up to them first. We'll try our best to capture all 6 expression turned cold as a gust of wind swept out from his body. We'll kill them on the blink of an eye. The wind shrouded the 9 titled celestial emperors. Yu Fengyu's words revealed the anger and killing intent of the 9 titled celestial palace master increased to a whole new survivors in the Thousand Chains prison. Expert in the law of wind. Does anyone know how my son died? In terms of speed, Laying asked, there were very few people who could compare to him. Lei Jun is when it came to comprehending Su Lang and the others were shocked and having the same level of comprehension of laws as him. They had just learned about Lei Jun's death. Duan Ling Tian was leading the other Chains prison celestial because I discovered my son's soul pearl had shattered. His speed was much faster than any of the 8 and found out he had gone to the Thousand Chains prison as a prison guard. I don't know why he suddenly decided to go to the Heavenly Pool Palace. Laying said with a grim expression on her face. They were getting closer and closer to the surviving elders of the Thousand Chains prison. Laying, are there only 6 of them? I asked them if they knew how Lei Jun died. The verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor they didn't know anything about it. He looked at Laying. Yu Fengyu said at the same time. Laying replied. All they knew was that Lei Jun was on guard duty in the Thousand Chains prison. Not only was killed on the first floor of the prison, but Yu Fengyu and the others also on guard duty in the Thousand Chains prison were divided. I only saw the backs of those 2 people. 2 prodigious disciples. Although the back of one of them is somewhat on the second floor. I can't recall where I've seen at the 3rd level of the prison. Laying frowned slightly. Earlier, prison elder. She had only seen the faces of 2 titled celestial emperors from the Thousand Chains prison. One of them was Tong Xiong Ba, prodigious disciple on guard duty on the 3rd floor, managed to escape. And the other was Shuejin Hua. Yu Fengyu's eyes flashed coldly as he looked at the verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor. As for the other 4 titled celestial emperors, and asked, including Pei Yuanji, do you know who's the prodigious disciple on duty on the 3rd floor of the 6 titled celestial emperors who managed to survive and escape from the Thousand Chains prison as well? Who? As for the other 2 people, one of them was very unfamiliar to her. At the same time, she had never seen him before. He wondered why the palace master of the Heavenly Pool gave her a familiar feeling ask him such a question. It was as if she had seen him somewhere before. Yu Fengyu nodded when he saw that Su Lang's expression was such a short time, and the confusion in his eyes was genuine. From the Thousand Chains prison. Palace master, the Misty Wave Celestial Emperor Su Lang frowned. However, he did not know what since the 2 of them are traveling that with prodigious disciple as your 7th disciple, they must be close to one of the 6 titled celestial emperors meaningfully. Otherwise, what do you think? The 6 titled celestial emperors wouldn't have dragged them along. Swoosh. The others agreed with the Yenbo celestial emperor's conjecture. The other 7 titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace, Yu Fengyu said indifferently, turned to look at Su Lang in shock. It was not difficult to detect there were also some titled celestial emperors palace who were gloating over Su Lang's misfortune from the Thousand Chains Dragon Celestial Emperor. Only the 6 titled celestial emperors and the profound Heaven Celestial Emperor looked at Su Lang with a hint of Schadenfreude Celestial Emperor as they gloated over Su Lang's misfortune. Apart from the disciples who were imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison, everyone else escaped. This time, Yu Fengyu's voice finally sounded a little shaky. What? All of them escaped. Upon hearing Yu Fengyu's words, the Martial Dragon Celestial Emperor Su Lang, the Verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor, the Gloom Celestial Emperor, the Cloud Zither Celestial Emperor, and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor were shocked. Su Lang was taken aback when he heard Yu Fengyu's words. When he saw the 7 titled celestial emperors looking at him, he instinctively shook his head. Impossible. There must be a mistake. Even though Yu Fengyu didn't make it very clear, he didn't say it out loud. However, he had already vaguely realized that prodigy disciple who was on duty on the third floor of the Thousand Chains prison, but had already left the Thousand Chains prison, was most likely the culprit who had released the prisoners from the Thousand Chains prison. However, he did not believe that Yu Fengyu was his seventh disciple, because he felt that Duan Lingtian would not do such a stupid thing. Not only would Pei Yuanji, the Nirvana Celestial Emperor, be on the opposite side of the Heavenly Pool Palace, but Pei Yuanji, the Nirvana Celestial Emperor, would also be allowed to escape, who imprisoned Pei Yuanji in the Thousand Chains prison. It was not someone from the Heavenly Pool Palace, but the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. Without the permission of the Lord Sky Emperor, if anyone dared to release Pei Yuanji, it would be equivalent to going against the Lord Sky Emperor. The Lord Sky Emperor would definitely not let them off easily. In his opinion, his seventh disciple was a smart person. He would never do such a thing. Mistake. Yu Fengyu shook his head and said, Su Lang, I'm afraid you're mistaken. Your seventh disciple is not simple. When Pei Yuanji and the others left, the group of elders from the Internal Affairs Palace saw your seventh disciple, Duan Lingtian, walking side by side with Pei Yuanji at the front. It was as though they were very familiar with each other. Even the other 5 titled celestial emperors are following him, and Pei Yuanji. Yu Fengyu looked at Su Lang meaningfully before he continued to say, Based on what I know, your seventh disciple has just joined the Heavenly Pool Palace. Do you know his background? In my opinion, he's here to save Pei Yuanji. That's why he snuck into the Heavenly Pool Palace. If he didn't come prepared, how could he help Pei Yuanji and the others break the formation in the Thousand Chains prison? Although the formation in the Thousand Chains prison has been broken, the surveillance formation is still there. The surveillance formation can't be connected to the outside of the Thousand Chains prison. However, the elders from the Internal Affairs Pavilion, who came out of the Thousand Chains prison, brought with them the mirror image recorded by the surveillance formation. 5 days after your seventh disciple appeared on the third floor of the Thousand Chains prison, Pei Yuanji and the other 5 titled celestial emperors broke the formation and escaped from the Thousand Chains prison with him. During that time, the Thousand Chains prison's elder, who was on duty, was killed by Xian Bing, the profound ice celestial emperor. Lei Jun was the only one who died. When Yu Fengyu finished speaking, he glanced at Lei Ying. Under Lei Ying's furious gaze, he continued to say, Lei Jun was killed by the 2 Ning dragons summoned by Duan Lingtian. It's when the 2 Ning dragons joined forces. Lei Ying's expression darkened didn't when she heard the palace to defend himself before he was Palace's words. The combined strength of the 2 Ning dragons looks so familiar. Is comparable to that of a titled celestial emperor. Silhouette. Su Lang, she looked at Su Lang coldly and said, really good at hiding his strength. Your seventh disciple is really something. He looked at Su Lang meaningfully. Not only did he release Pei Yuanji and the others from the Thousand Chains prison, mentioned the 2 Ning dragons, but he even killed my son Lei Jun. He was certain the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace was not mistaken. To the prodigy arena, his seventh disciple had indeed gone to the Celestial Emperor's prison to save Pei Yuanji and the others. Lei Ying's memorized the address of this website. Naturally, Searchgo's mobile version first thought was that Lei Ying had helped him and Duan Lingtian because of Huan Er, who was by Duan Lingtian's side. Huan Er was Lei Ying's favorite disciple. She was also the disciple that Lei Ying valued the most. Moreover, Lei Ying had only helped Duan Lingtian out of respect for Su Lang, not because of Duan Lingtian. Naturally, Su Lang only thought about this in his heart. He smiled wryly as he said, Lei Ying, I didn't know about Duan Lingtian's matter beforehand. Otherwise I would have stopped him. Su Lang sighed. Does this mean my eldest disciple Han Yunjin was wrongly killed? He was killed by an informant, the profound Heaven Celestial Emperor, who was second only to Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, said in a deep voice. When he finished speaking, his eyes were filled with coldness as he looked at Su Lang. When he shifted his gaze to Lei Ying, a hint of schadenfreude could be seen in his eyes. Lei Ying, if you knew your son would be killed by Duan Lingtian, you wouldn't have helped him so many times, right? Lei Ying's expression darkened when she heard the profound Heaven Celestial Emperor's words. She did not know what to say. When we catch up to them, I will kill that Duan Lingtian with my own hands. Lei Ying's voice was cold to the bone. No one can snatch it from me. Although she was usually very strict with Lei Jun, that was because she wanted her son to succeed. In the eyes of others, Lei Jun's status was not as high as her first disciples or third disciples. However, the truth was that even if her first and third disciples, as well as her other two disciples, were added together, they could not compare to Lei Jun's position in her heart. After all, he was her own son. Don't worry, Lei Ying. Since that Duan Lingtian killed your son Lei Jun, we will naturally give him to you. Gu Changjiang, the martial dragon celestial emperor, chuckled before he looked at Su Lang with a mocking smile. Unless Su Lang wants to clean up the mess himself. Su Lang remained silent when he saw Lei Ying looking at him again. However, his expression was still unsightly. Until now, he still found it hard to believe that his seventh disciple had betrayed the heavenly pool palace, him, and his disciples. I'm sure that girl Yasi has learned about this matter by now. Su Lang's daughter Su Yasi was one of the 3 head wardens of the Thousand Chains prison. The elders of the Life or Death Pavilion in the Thousand Chains prison must have informed Su Yasi about this matter. After all, apart from being the head warden of the Thousand Chains prison, she was also the hall master of the Life or Death Pavilion in the Thousand Chains prison. With this thought in mind, Su Lang sent a message to his daughter as well. I understand. Su Yasi's reply confirmed Su Lang's suspicion that his daughter had learned about this matter from the elders of the Thousand Chains prison. Duan Lingtian was already prepared for Su Lang to learn that he had rescued Pei Yuanji. However, according to Duan Lingtian's plan, even if Su Lang and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor learned about what had happened in the Heavenly Pool Palace, it would take them at least 5 to 6 days to return. However, he did not expect that Duan Lingtian would not return. Both Su Lang and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor did not leave the Heavenly Pool Palace. The person whom Duan Lingtian had entrusted to Duan Lingtian had been killed by his enemy when he was in the Thousand Chains prison. Senior Mengchuan, Duan Lingtian, Pei Yuanji, and the others quickly met up with Mengchuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, who was making his way to the Thousand Chains prison. It seems like everything went well. Mengchuan smiled when he saw Duan Lingtian and the others. You're Mengchuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor from the Heavenly Palace of the Solitary Destructive Heaven? The old woman stood out from behind Duan Lingtian and Pei Yuanji, and when she looked at Mengchuan, her originally muddy eyes were suffused with a wisp of bright light. I've heard a lot about you and your big brother Meng Luo. You are. Mengchuan looked at the old woman curiously. The Golden Flower Celestial Emperor Shuejin Hua. However, I'm sure you've never heard of me. The old woman was none other than the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor, Shuejin Hua. She was also a titled Celestial Emperor in the Solitary Destructive Heaven. The Golden Flower Celestial Emperor? Mengchuan's eyes widened slightly. You're that crazy woman who set up a trap to kill her husband because he was still a womanizer despite his age? You don't have to give me face, Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor. That's right, I'm that crazy woman. However, I didn't expect you to know about this matter as well. Shuejin Hua shook her head and laughed self-mockingly. I'm sure many titled Celestial Emperors in the Solitary Destructive Heaven know about this matter, right? Mengchuan shook his head. After all, both you and your husband are titled Celestial Emperors. You're considered in the same circle as us titled Celestial Emperors in the Solitary Destructive Heaven. That's true. Shuejin Hua nodded. Upon hearing Mengchuan's words, not only was Duan Lingtian shocked by Shuejin Hua's past, but even Pei Yuanji and the others were shocked as well. After all, they had only just learned about Shuejin Hua's past. Old woman Shui, I didn't expect you to be so ruthless as to kill your own husband. Kubailu, the White Deer Celestial Emperor, swallowed hard. He was clearly frightened. In the past, I only thought that an old woman like you was a little crazy. I didn't expect you to not even let your own husband go. He brought this upon himself. Shuejin Hua sneered. It's fine if I didn't see him fooling around outside. However, he dared to do such a thing in front of me. If I don't kill him, I won't be able to vent my anger. Let's leave now. If we don't leave now, the people from the heavenly pool palace will catch up to us. Ma Qi, the fat old man, the swift thunder celestial emperor said. They've caught up to us. As soon as Ma Qi finished speaking, Pei Yuanji suddenly turned around. His gaze seemed to penetrate the heavens and earth, and landed on the seemingly calm void in the distance. Duan Lingtian and the others shuddered when they heard Pei Yuanji's words. Swoosh, swoosh. The sound of wind whistling rang in the air. In just a blink of an eye, figures appeared above Duan Lingtian and the others. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The sound of wind whistling rang in the air. The moment the figures appeared above Duan Lingtian and the others, they spread out and surrounded Duan Lingtian and the others. There were 9 people in total. They were the 9 titled celestial emperors of the heavenly pool palace, led by Yu Fengyu. Teacher. Duan Lingtian's expression changed slightly when he saw Su Lang was among the 9 titled celestial emperors. He realized his plan had gone awry. Otherwise, Su Lang would not have appeared here at this time. Lingtian, what's going on? Didn't you say the Verdant Prairie Celestial Emperor and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor aren't here? Why are they here? Shuejin Hua, the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor, sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian. I don't know. Something must have happened to the people I hired. Duan Lingtian replied. Duan Lingtian did not think Duan Lingtian did not help him by sending a voice transmission to Su Lang and the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor. Therefore, there was only one possibility. Something must have happened before Duan Lingtian impersonated him and sent a voice transmission to Su Lang and Sun Xing. When Shuejin Hua sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian, the other 4 titled celestial emperors, apart from Pei Yuanji, also sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian. I made a mistake. Duan Lingtian replied with a wry smile on his face. Meng Chuan, Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the heavenly pool palace, glanced at Duan Lingtian and Pei Yuanji indifferently before he looked at Meng Chuan and the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, and asked in a deep voice, You joined forces with Duan Lingtian to save Lian Qiu? Meng Chuan had looked for Yu Fengyu some time ago in hopes that Yu Fengyu would release Lian Qiu and Pei Yuanji, but Yu Fengyu had refused. For this reason, when Yu Fengyu saw Meng Chuan and Lian Qiu, he immediately assumed Meng Chuan was colluding with Duan Lingtian and the others to save Lian Qiu. I don't know Lian Qiu. I'm here because of Duan Lingtian, Meng Chuan said indifferently. I'm here because of Duan Lingtian. Yu Fengyu was taken aback by Meng Chuan's words. He did not expect Meng Chuan to show up here because of Duan Lingtian. Therefore, it was obvious Meng Chuan had come to look for him because of Duan Lingtian as well. A hint of surprise could be seen in Yu Fengyu's eyes when he looked at Duan Lingtian again. Meng Chuan, are you planning to make an enemy out of the heavenly pool palace? Yu Fengyu's expression darkened when he looked at Meng Chuan again. I wonder if you're representing yourself or the heavenly palace of the solitary
Chapter
destructive heaven.
38.
It's up to you.
Laying was aware
Meng
of
Chuan
Duan
smiled
Lingtian's
faintly.
actions in the
If he was
Thousand
alone,
Chains prison.
He would not
For
be able
example,
to represent
not
the
only
heavenly
did
palace
Duan
of the
Lingtian
solitary
spare the
elder
elder
from
from
the
heaven.
Thousand Chains
However,
prison,
if his
who was
elder
on
brother,
duty with
Meng
Duan
Luo,
Lingtian,
the heavenly
on the third
savage
floor of the
celestial
prison,
emperor,
but
was
Duan
present
Lingtian,
as well,
even
it
asked
would be
the
a
other
different
titled
story.
celestial emperors
Duan
to spare
Lingtian,
him. Otherwise,
eyes
with
landed
the
on
tempers
Duan
of one or
Lingtian
two of
as
the
she
six
asked
titled celestial
"How did my
emperors,
son Lei Jun
they would not have
offend you
spared
for
the
you to
elder
kill
from the
him?"
Thousand Chains prison. Apart from that, the two prodigious disciples on the second floor of the prison were still alive. Her son Lei Jun was killed by Xian Bing, the profound ice celestial emperor, while her son Lei Jun was killed by the Ning dragons that Duan Lingtian had summoned. Why? Leiang asked in a low voice. Although Duan Lingtian did not expect things to turn out this way, he did not despair. At most, he would rely on the 5 divine elements to defeat the titled celestial emperors from the heavenly pool palace. Naturally, if the 5 divine elements were exposed, he would be in grave danger. However, he had no choice but to do so to save Huaner's parents. Earlier, Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the heavenly pool palace, had looked at Duan Lingtian as though he was a dead man. It was clear Yu Fengyu had no intention of letting him live. Instead of waiting for death, Duan Lingtian might as well take the risk. He tried to kill me time and time again. What's wrong with killing him? Duan Lingtian looked at Leiang indifferently and said unhurriedly, "Otherwise, why would I kill him when he's my second senior brother?" Leiang was taken aback by Duan Lingtian's words. She did not expect Duan Lingtian would say such a thing. However, she could not find fault with Duan Lingtian's words. After all, Duan Lingtian had shown mercy to 2 unknown prodigious disciples. If there was no conflict between him and Lei Jun, he would not have killed Lei Jun. "You killed my son. Today, I will take your life." Of course, even if Leiang felt that there was a reason for this, it was impossible for her to let Duan Lingtian go. Her cold gaze was like a sword as it fell on Duan Lingtian. It was as if she wanted to cut Duan Lingtian into 1,000 pieces. As her voice sounded, streaks of purple lightning snake-like bolts of lightning appeared around Lei Ying's body, giving off waves of sharp auras. "There are plenty of people who want my life. Leiang, you're not the only one," Duan Lingtian said lightly. Since he had already decided to throw caution to the wind, Duan Lingtian was naturally confident and fearless. So what if Leiang was a titled celestial emperor? After all, he had killed many titled celestial emperors before. Although Dugu Wen was not as strong as Dugu Wu, the indestructible celestial emperor, he was not any weaker than Leiang. Even Dugu Wen had died in his hands. How could he be afraid of Leiang? "Duan Lingtian, did you join the heavenly pool palace to save Pei Yuanji?" While Duan Lingtian and Leiang were arguing, Su Lang's eyes shifted to Duan Lingtian. He could not help but ask through voice transmission, "Teacher, I'm sorry." Duan Lingtian did not harbor any hostility toward Su Lang. In fact, he felt guilty. After all, Su Lang had always taken good care of him. Now that he had betrayed the heavenly pool palace, it was only natural that Su Lang would be put in a difficult position. Duan Lingtian was well aware of this. "Indeed, we joined the heavenly pool palace to save Pei Yuanji. However, it wasn't to save Duan
Big Brother
Lingtian
Pei.
replied through voice
Although I've known
transmission.
Big Brother Pei for
We
a
joined
long
the heavenly
time,
pool palace.
I didn't
not
know he
only
was
to save
imprisoned in
Senior
the Thousand
Lianxiu,
Chains prison,
but also to save
Duan
Senior
Lingtian
Du
said.
Xian.
You
Senior
didn't
Du
join the
Xian
heavenly
is Senior
pool palace
Lianxiu's
to
wife.
save Pei Yuanji.
Senior Du Xian
Don't
is
tell me
also
you joined
Huaner's
the
mother.
heavenly pool palace
Duan
to save
Lingtian did not
Lianxiu.
hide anything from
Naturally,
Su Lang.
He
did
did
not
not
intend to
Lianxiu,
hide anything
the
from
prodigy
Su
from the
Lang as
heavenly
well.
sword mountain in
Teacher,
the solitary
I admit
destructive
that I joined
heaven.
the heavenly pool
Yes.
palace with a purpose, but I feel at home under your tutelage. This is the first time I felt this way since I ascended from the mundane realm to the Devata realm 200 years ago. Duan Lingtian sighed. However, I can't forget my original goal of saving Huaner's parents. That's the only way I can leave the heavenly pool palace. I just hope my betrayal won't bring trouble to you and my seniors. Duan Lingtian's voice transmission came from the bottom of his heart. Su Lang remained silent for a moment before he sighed. You're too foolish. You should have told me everything. If Yixi had helped you, things would have been much easier. Although I can't say I can't accept your decision to imprison Lian Qiu and his wife, I don't think Yixi and I would have helped you if you wanted to save them. However, who would have thought you'd make such a big fuss just to save them? You even released all 6 titled celestial emperors, including Pei Yuanji. It's fine if you release the other titled celestial emperors. Pei Yuanji was imprisoned by the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven in the Thousand Chains prison. You'll offend the Heavenly Emperor by releasing him. Now that things have escalated to a point of no return, I can't openly help you. After all, I have to think about your senior brothers and senior sisters. Su Lang sighed when he reached the end of his sentence. Teacher. Duanling Tian could not help but feel slightly moved. Originally, he was prepared to fall out with Su Lang. However, he did not expect Su Lang's words would reveal his intention to help him at this moment. This moved him, and at the same time, made him feel even more guilty. Teacher, there's no need to show mercy. Just do what you have to do. Duanling Tian said through voice transmission. You have no chance of winning. Su Lang said. No chance of winning? Duanling Tian smiled indifferently. Whether I have a chance of winning or not, we'll only know after we try. Su Lang was taken aback by Duanling Tian's words. Could it be that his seventh disciple still had a trump card up his sleeve? Was he really that confident? Although Duanling Tian had killed the 100 variant Celestial Emperor, Duanling Tian had said it was due to Dugu Wen's carelessness. However, the 9 titled Celestial Emperors in the Heavenly Pool Palace, including Su Lang, did not care about Duanling Tian at all. Duanling Tian, if I knew you were a mole, I would have killed you in the Prodigy Arena. The profound Heaven Celestial Emperor glared at Duanling Tian coldly as he spoke. Back then, his eldest disciple, Han Yunjin, had lost to Duanling Tian and died. The profound Heaven Celestial Emperor had always held a grudge against Duanling Tian. After learning that Duanling Tian was a mole in the Heavenly Pool Palace to save Pei Yuanji, the profound Heaven Celestial Emperor could not help but regret not killing Duanling Tian to save his eldest disciple. Kill me. Duanling Tian smiled faintly. You'll have to have the ability to do so first. Although the profound Heaven Celestial Emperor had lived for many years, he was still infuriated by Duanling Tian's words. He looked at Lei Ying and said, I'll kill this Duanling Tian for you. I want to kill him with my own hands. Lei Ying rejected the profound Heaven Celestial Emperor's offer without hesitation. Let's see who's faster. The profound Heaven Celestial Emperor was clearly infuriated by Duanling Tian. Otherwise, he would not have fought with Lei Ying to kill Duanling Tian. Li Xiantian, don't cross the line, Lei Ying said in a deep voice. The profound Heaven Celestial Emperor was named after himself. His real name was Li Xiantian. Naturally, not many people knew his real name. In the Heavenly Pool Palace, only a few titled Celestial Emperors and Elders knew his real name. Enough. At this moment Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, said, Lei Ying, you'll kill Duanling Tian yourself. After that, help Xiantian deal with Pei Yuanji. Xiantian, I'll leave Pei Yuanji to you. Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, must be after me. Yu Han, I'll leave Xianbing to you. As the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, he was not flustered at all, even though he was leading a group of titled Celestial Emperors to fight against 7 titled Celestial Emperors. With just a few words, he assigned the 8 titled Celestial Emperors their respective targets. As for himself, he would fight Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor. Let's do it. After arranging everything, Yu Fengyu's eyes suddenly turned cold as he said in a clear voice, Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Whoosh! Whoosh! As soon as Yu Fengyu finished speaking, the other 8 titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace made their moves. Apart from Yu Fengyu, who was staring at Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, the other 8 titled celestial emperors made their moves. For example, Lei Ying's body was like a bolt of lightning. Her entire body had indeed transformed into a bolt of lightning that was intertwined with purple light as she charged towards Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian, I'll make you pay with your life for my son today. Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, I Xian Tian, will deal with you. The Profound Heaven Celestial Emperor's target was Pei Yuanji. The Yuhan Celestial Emperor's target was Xian Bing. Among the 6 titled celestial emperors who had escaped from the Thousand Chains prison, 39, she was second only to Pei Yuanji. Swoosh! Yu Fengyu ordered the 2 titled celestial emperors in the Heavenly Pool Palace to deal with all the titled celestial emperors in the Heavenly Pool Palace made their move. Yu Fengyu also assigned the 4 titled celestial emperors to fight against. As for Duanling Tian and the others, I'll leave the white deer celestial emperor to you. Pei Yuanji and Lian Xiu deal with standing together. Cloud celestial the others had also made their moves to meet their opponents. The Golden Flower Celestial Emperor is yours. The Merciless Celestial Emperor, and Li Xian deal with the Ji-Lei Celestial the Profound Heaven Celestial Emperor. Xiao Tian charged toward provide support and help any of us. Naturally, try to capture the first person as soon as possible. If Lian Xiu from the Heavenly Sword Mountain dares to leave, however, kill him. Since Duanling Tian and Pei Yuanji were together, they decided to attack together. Good timing. Pei Yuanji seemed to know Lei Ying's target was Duanling Tian. The moment he made his move, khaki-colored pillars appeared one after another in the air. In just a blink of an eye, they formed a gigantic cage that trapped Lei Ying inside. Then Li Xian Tian, the Profound Heaven Celestial Emperor, charged toward Lei Ying. Pei Yuanji, you can't even fend for yourself, and yet, you're still thinking of helping Duanling Tian? As Lei Ying laughed coldly, the power of thunder and lightning roared out from her body. It was as if they had transformed into numerous thunder dragons that charged forward in an attempt to shatter Pei Yuanji's restraints on her. However, how could the bindings formed by Pei Yuanji's attack be something that she could shatter just because she said so? After all, Pei Yuanji was much stronger than Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace. Even if he had to deal with the Profound Heaven Celestial Emperor, it would not be difficult for him to trap Lei Ying, the Merciless Celestial Emperor, at the same time. Therefore, even though Lei Ying tried her best to shatter Pei Yuanji's shackles, and she also attacked with all her might, her strength could only cause small cracks to appear on the spherical cage made of yellow pillars. Perhaps, if this continued, she would be able to break out of the cage. However, it would take a long time. Lei Ying's expression darkened when she realized this. She continued to use her Emperor-grade celestial weapon to attack Pei Yuanji. Boom! Rumble! Countless resplendent purple lightning bolts intertwined into various powers and shot towards Pei Yuanji's cage from various angles. What followed was a series of thunderous booms. Clearly, Lei Ying intended to break out of this cage in the shortest time possible. The method Big Brother Pei used to restrain Lei Ying is actually the fusion of 3 profundities from the Law of Earth and 3 other profundities from the Law of Earth. When Duanling Tian saw how Pei Yuanji restrained Lei Ying, he could not help but click his tongue. It was no wonder Pei Yuanji was stronger than Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace. Even the profundities comprehended in the Devata realms could not compare to such profundities. It was just that the laws that those heavenly emperors comprehended were not earth attribute laws. The same comprehension of laws, when applied to different laws, represented completely different meanings. Take Pei Yuanji's comprehension of the laws for example. Pei Yuanji's comprehension of the laws of earth was the weakest among all the laws he comprehended. Naturally, his defense was invincible. Even the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven could not break through Pei Yuanji's defense. However, if Pei Yuanji's comprehension of the laws of earth was based on any of the 4 supreme laws, he would be stronger than many heavenly emperors. Even if Pei Yuanji's comprehension of the laws of earth was based on the laws of earth that focused on speed and offense, Yuanji's comprehension of the laws of earth was based on a mediocre law like the law of water or the law of wood, his strength would still rise to a whole new level. After all, the laws of Earth were weak. Buzz, 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 buzz. Li Xiantian, the profound heaven celestial emperor, was widely acknowledged as the strongest person in the heavenly pool palace, who was second only to Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the heavenly pool palace. Li Xiantian had comprehended the law of destruction. As soon as he made his move, his celestial origin energy, that was fused with the destruction elemental profundity, shot toward Pei Yuanji. Clang, 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 clang. Although Li Xiantian was strong and had comprehended the law of destruction, Pei Yuanji's defense was so strong that even the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven could not break it, let alone Li Xiantian. Although Pei Yuanji was distracted by restraining Lei Ying, he was still able to block Li Xiantian's attack. In addition, while blocking Li Xiantian's attack, Pei Yuanji also patched up the cracks that Lei Ying had painstakingly left on the binding cage. Pei Yuanji. Lei Ying was so angry that she almost threw up blood when she saw Pei Yuanji's actions. After all, she would have to start all over again to break the binding cage. It seems like I've underestimated Brother Pei's strength. Duan Lingtian was shocked when he saw Pei Yuanji fighting two titled celestial emperors alone, and was not at a disadvantage at all. Moreover, he even had the time to watch the other titled celestial emperors fight. Everything happened in just a blink of an eye. When Duan Lingtian regained his senses, apart from Yu Fengyu and Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, the other titled celestial emperors had already started fighting. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The Yuhan Celestial Emperor was one of the 3 female titled celestial emperors in the heavenly pool palace. She was also the strongest among them. She was dressed in a long black robe, and her long hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall. Her delicate face exuded a cold aura, and her eyes were sharp. With a slight movement of her body, a wave of black energy shot toward Xian Bing. This is... Duan Lingtian's eyes widened when he saw this. This is the law of darkness? Apart from the 4 supreme laws, the 5 elemental laws, and the 4 supreme laws, there were other laws that were not part of the 5 elemental laws. The law of darkness was one of them. Apart from the law of darkness, there was also the law of light and the law of destruction. The law of darkness that the Yuhan Celestial Emperor had cast was the law of darkness. As soon as she cast the law of darkness, the area where she was fighting with the profound ice Celestial Emperor seemed to be shrouded in darkness. At the very least, everything seemed to be shrouded in darkness in front of Xian Bing. However, to the onlookers, the area where Xian Bing and the Yuhan Celestial Emperor were fighting was shrouded in darkness. I've long heard that the Gloom Celestial Emperor of the Heavenly Pool Palace is able to fuse several profundities from the Law of Darkness together with the profundities from the Law of Darkness. The profound Ice Celestial Emperor's voice rang in the air. At the same time, a bone-chilling aura surged out of the darkness, accompanied by the sound of people clashing with each other. Boom! Rumble! Waves of rolling air swept out, accompanied by a bone-piercing chill. Reveal your true form. The Yuhan Celestial Emperor's voice was cold. Otherwise, you won't be a match for me. As you wish. The profound Ice Celestial Emperor replied. While the Yuhan Celestial Emperor and the profound Ice Celestial Emperor were fighting, the other titled Celestial Emperors were also fighting. Duan Lingtian's teacher in the Heavenly Pool Palace Su Lang, the verdant prairie celestial emperor, was fighting against Kubai Lu, the white deer celestial emperor. In the beginning, both of them were evenly matched. However, in the end, Su Lang took the initiative and completely gained the upper hand. Although Su Lang gained the upper hand, Kubai Lu still managed to fend off Su Lang's attacks with his Law of Earth's defense. Kubai Lu, the white deer celestial emperor, was imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison because even the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace could not break through his defense. Phew! Duan Lingtian sighed in relief when he saw Su Lang and Kubai Lu were in a deadlock. At the same time, Duan Lingtian looked at the others and saw Tung Xiongba, the Scouring Cloud Celestial Emperor, and Guchang Jiang, the Martial Dragon Celestial Emperor, were fighting fiercely. Shuijin Hua, the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor, was also fighting the Smoke Wave Celestial Emperor. Swoosh! At this moment, Duan Lingtian saw a slender young man with an ordinary appearance charging toward Tung Xiongba, the Dark Cloud Celestial Emperor, in just a blink of an eye. Tung Xiongba had no choice but to defend himself against the attacks of the two titled Celestial Emperors. Yang Xiaotian, the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor? Although Duan Lingtian had not seen a few of the 9 titled Celestial Emperors in the Heavenly Pool Palace, he could recognize them with just a glance. Duan Lingtian was the only one who could confirm Yang Xiaotian's identity. Come out! With just a thought, Duan Lingtian summoned the 2 Ning dragons to assist the Scouring Cloud Celestial Emperor. As for himself, he also set off after the 2 Ning dragons. Lian Xiu was the only one left standing next to Pei Yuanji. He had a bitter smile on his face. Although his strength was close to that of a titled Celestial Emperor, he could not interfere in a battle between titled Celestial Emperors. Duan Lingtian, I heard from Sun Xing that he ascended from Yanhuang realm as well? Moreover, he's from Yanhuang realm as well.
Of course, I know about it.
At this moment,
in fact, the journey to the west is somewhat related to me as well.
Duan Lingtian.
A hint of nostalgia could be seen in Yang Xiaotian's eyes as he said,
Scouring Cloud
"The birth
Celestial
of the journey
Emperor.
to the west
At the
is
same
related
time,
to the notes
Duan
I left
Lingtian
behind with the
noticed Yang
legacy I
Xiaotian's
inherited."
movements had slowed down. It seemed like Yang Xiaotian was holding back. Yes, a hint of surprise could be seen in Duan Lingtian's eyes as he looked at Yang Xiaotian. Senior Xiaotian, do you know about the journey to the west from Yanhuang realm? Journey to the west? Yang Xiaotian was slightly taken aback when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Then he smiled and said, Sun Xing said that you're from Yanhuang realm, who appeared a few hundred years after him. Is it possible that the journey to the west was passed down to your era? Senior, you know about the journey to the west? Duan Lingtian was stunned. He did not expect Yang Xiaotian to know about the journey to the west. Chapter 3340. Meanwhile, the other titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace, who were fighting with all their might, were unaware of this. Yang Xiaotian, the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor of the Heavenly Pool Palace, was currently communicating with Duan Lingtian through voice transmission about the mundane realm's journey to the west. Celestial Emperor had charged into the heaven-grade journey to the west, originated from some of the handwritten celestial left behind. Then he had killed the titled celestial emperor, Yang Xiaotian nodded. Killed his younger brother. He said helplessly, after that battle, however, the heavenly savage celestial emperor's reputation spread like wildfire. However, the monkey's ability is still recorded in Journey to the West. Not want to provoke Meng Luo. Although he was not a match for Meng Luo, the monkey was capable of piercing through the heavens. As he spoke, even Yang Xiaotian's eyes showed some respect for the monkey and journey to the west. However, there was a problem. Duan Lingtian had learned the origin of journey to the boundless heaven. The heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, the author of Journey to the West, Wu Qing'an, before the Azura Hell, born in 1500 even his maternal grandfather was no match for the heavenly brother Sun Xing was born around that time as well. When the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, it seems like the origin of Journey to the West, it was something to do with much stronger than before. Duan Lingtian, according to his maternal grandfather, Duan, the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven, huge commotion this time. The heavenly emperor otherwise, of the solitary I would have tried my best to help you since you're from my hometown. However, even I can't help you today. Meng Chuan's voice transmission rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. Lang had said earlier. He urged Duan Lingtian was taken aback by Yang Meng Chuan's words. He did not expect the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor and the other titled Celestial Emperors with a frown on his face would be so easygoing. He did not care about the other titled Celestial Emperors. If you have the chance, just run, no matter what. He couldn't let Pei Yuanji stay here. As soon as Yang Xiaotian finished speaking, he was friends with Pei Yuanji. Moreover, the towering Heaven's relationship with Huaner's grand aunt, as soon as he attacked, flames surged out for him to cover the sky. The towering Heaven Celestial Emperor, my original plan, was so frightened we should be able to that he hastily defended himself with all his might. And the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor, Meng Chuan's voice resonated in Duan Lingtian's ears. Duan Lingtian's expression was slightly unsightly. The scene before his eyes had completely deviated from his plan. As soon as Meng Chuan finished speaking, an azure blue energy erupted from his body. At this moment, the azure blue energy transformed into a gigantic sword that streaked through the air, heading straight for you. They won't be able to do anything to us. The heavenly savage celestial emperor, 6 of us will be locked up again, has a thunderous reputation. As Meng Luo's disciple, I hope you won't disappoint me. All of you are gone. As Yufeng spoke, in the future, his body flickered and transformed into a gust of piercingly cold green wind. The meaning behind midair and transformed into a wind dragon to meet the oncoming giant sword head-on in the blink of an eye, so that they would not have wasted their time engaged in a fierce battle. Great fanfare. In the beginning, as for them, were evenly matched. They would only be locked up again. As time passed, while Meng Chuan's strength was still hesitating after hearing Pei Yuanji's words. Even so, several voice transmissions water elemental laws were tough enough to restrain Yufeng. Duan Lingtian, unless Yufeng attacked him. Let's go. He could only be held back. Lingtian boy, let's go. Meng Chuan, we'll wait for you to save us. It seems like you're trying to buy time for them. Soon after, Yufeng also realized this problem. His expression turned cold, and a hint of helplessness appeared in the depths of his eyes. Although he could see through Meng Chuan's intentions, there was nothing he could do. After all, he could not kill Meng Chuan. It was only a matter of time before he killed Meng Chuan. However, after killing Meng Chuan, it would not be easy to deal with Meng Luo, the heavenly savage celestial emperor. At that time, Meng Luo would definitely wreak havoc in the heavenly pool palace. There had been similar cases in the past. Back then, when Meng Chuan was not a titled celestial emperor, he was almost killed by a titled celestial emperor from a heaven-grade force. These voice transmissions came from the other 5 titled celestial emperors, who had escaped from the Thousand Chains prison. Apart from Pei Yuanji, the Golden Flower Celestial Emperor, the White Deer Celestial Emperor, the Scouring Cloud Celestial Emperor, and the Jilei Celestial Emperor, even the Profound Ice Celestial Emperor was trying to persuade him to leave through voice transmissions. It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to guess that the other 5 titled celestial emperors were trying to persuade him to leave under Pei Yuanji's orders. Senior Lian Qiu, let's leave first. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath before he looked at Lian Qiu solemnly. It seemed like this was the only way out. Otherwise, if this continued, it was very likely that none of them would be able to escape. Duan Lingtian had considered borrowing the power of the 5 divine elements, but based on the current situation, it was not necessary. Even the world-cleansing divine water did not think it was necessary. What about them? Lian Qiu was unaware that Duan Lingtian had spoken to the others through voice transmissions. When he saw Duan Lingtian asking him to leave, he instinctively asked, Senior Lian Qiu. Lian Qiu remained where he was, showing no signs of leaving. Senior Meng Chuan will be fine. The palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace won't dare to touch him. As for Brother Pei and the other 5 titled celestial emperors, they'll be sent back to the Thousand Chains prison. I'll save them in the future. Duan Lingtian said through voice transmissions. We're the ones in the most danger now. In fact, with us around, Brother Pei won't be able to act freely. Duan Lingtian said. All right. After listening to Duan Lingtian's words, Lian Qiu nodded. At this moment, he also realized this was the best solution. Let's go. Duan Lingtian and Lian Qiu said as they prepared to leave. Xiaotian, kill them. The palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace said to Yang Xiaotian, the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor, when he saw Duan Lingtian and Lian Qiu leaving. Yang Xiaotian sighed inwardly when he heard the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace's words. He left Tingxiong Ba, the Scouring Cloud Celestial Emperor, behind and transformed into a ball of flames that shot toward Duan Lingtian and Lian Qiu. Boom! Rumble! However, when the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor was about to cross half the distance, a wall suddenly rose in front of him and blocked his path. He slammed into the wall, causing it to tremble and his face to be covered in dust. Pei Yuanji had made a move at the critical moment. However, based on Pei Yuanji's grim expression, it was obvious he was having a hard time. After all, it was as though he had single-handedly stopped 3 titled celestial emperors. Let's go! Pei Yuanji shouted at Duan Lingtian and Lian Qiu. Both of them immediately made their move. However, they had only flown a short distance when they were forced to retreat in the next moment by a figure
a
that
woman
appeared
with a
like
peerless
ghost.
appearance and a
Moreover,
cold bearing
the figure
appeared before
forced Duan
Duan
Lingtian.
And
Duan
she was staring
Lingtian
at
looked at
Duan
the figure
Lingtian
who had
with a
threatened
pair of
his life
beautiful autumn
and
eyes.
forced him to retreat. He discovered the figure was dressed in a loose gray robe and had a bamboo hat on his head. He had a medium build, and his entire body seemed to emit an oppressive aura. The aura was similar to the aura of death around the life and death stage in the Thousand Chains prison. However, the aura was much stronger. At the same time, Lian Qiu was forced to retreat as well. He looked at the person in front of him with a solemn expression on his face. Your little junior brother? Accompanied by a soft voice that did not seem to contain any emotions, the person raised her sleeve, and a slender hand that was as white as jade reached out, grabbed the bamboo hat on her head, and took it off in an instant. Chapter 3341. Your little junior brother? Upon hearing the woman's question, Duan Lingtian immediately figured out the woman's identity. So you see, she was Su Lang's daughter and Su Lang's first disciple. At this
Apart
moment,
from that,
a loud
she
explosion
was also
rang
one of
in
the
the
three
air.
head wardens
Yu
of the
Fengyu,
Thousand Chains
the
prison,
palace master of
the
the
hall
heavenly
master
pool
of the
palace,
life and death hall,
had taken advantage
However,
of Meng Chuan's
it did not cross
carelessness
Duan
and made
Lingtian's
his move
mind
that his
Lei
eldest
kill
senior
them,
sister,
as Pei
whom he
Yuanji's
had never
restraints
seen
on
before,
Lei
would
would
appear at this
dispelled by Yu
moment
Fengyu.
and block his path.
Yu Fengyu spoke.
Duan Lingtian
Xiao
greets
Tian,
you.
you
and
and
senior
Xin Tian
sister.
will restrain Pei
Duan
Yuanji
Lingtian
together.
greeted the woman
Yes,
with a wry
palace
smile
master.
on his face,
While the howling
a hint
heaven
of
celestial
helplessness could
emperor
be heard in his
Xian
voice.
celestial
Head
emperor
ward
worked
and Su,
together
you
to
came
hold
at the
Pei
right
Yuanji
time.
back.
Li
Xiantian's
Xiantian's eyes
brightened
brightened
when
when
he saw Su Yixi
and Lian
A
Xiao
hint
at
of
lightning
ruthlessness
speed.
could be heard in
Duan
his voice.
Lingtian's expression
Kill them.
changed when he
However,
saw Lei
Su
charging
Yixi
toward
ignored
him.
Li Xiantian's
He was about
words.
to summon the Pine
She
Willow
looked at
Divine
Duan
Tree's godly
Lingtian
image
with a
avatar
mocking smile
and
on
used
her
the
face
5
as she
divine
said,
elements power
"Little
to
junior
scare Lei
brother,
away.
you're really
Swoosh.
something."
However,
There's never been
to
anyone
Duan
like you who
Lingtian's
can
surprise
enter and leave
Su
the
Yixi,
Thousand
who was
Chains
standing
prison
at the side
as though there's
suddenly
no one
moved
around,
and stood in front
even
of
the
Lei
palace master,
when she was
wouldn't
about
be
to
able
charge
to break
toward them.
through the formation.
Eldest
In the
senior
Thousand
sister,
Chains prison,
Duan Lingtian was
Su Yixi
stunned.
spoke as though she
In
was
his
casually
opinion,
chatting with
even
Duan
if his eldest
Lingtian,
senior sister
instead
did
of
not stop
criticizing
him from leaving.
Eldest
She
senior
would not
sister,
help him either.
It's just a trick.
However, Duan
he did not
Lingtian smiled
expect that
awkwardly.
the eldest senior
The first
sister
senior
would
sister
stand up
before
at this
him
time was one of
Su
the
Yixi,
three
what's the
wardens
meaning
of
of
the
this?
Thousand Chains prison.
Lei stared at Su
Regardless
Yixi
of their
coldly and
relationship
said in
as
a
fellow
deep voice,
disciples,
"It's
just
one
in
thing for
terms
you
of
to let
duty
Duan
alone,
Lingtian go,
the first senior
because you're
sister
from the
would
same
not let him
sect
go
as him.
today. Now that
However,
the palace master
up
has
until
ordered
now,
me to kill them,
Su Yixi had
how
not
dare
shown
you
any
stop him?
hostility toward him,
Don't tell
even
me
though
you
she
don't
had
respect
blocked
the
his
palace
path.
master at all?
Even if it's
Lei
just a
asked
trick,
coldly.
it's enough
I've
to
said
show
that
how
I'll
capable
personally
you are.
capture them in 3
Su
days.
Yixi said. Su Yixi
Head
said
warden
indifferently,
Su, are you trying to show
Yixi,
favoritism?
Yu Fengyu,
Gu Changjiang,
the palace master
the
of
martial
the
dragon
Heavenly Pool
celestial
Palace,
emperor,
who had been
and
silent all this
Tang
while,
Xiongba, finally
the scouring
spoke up.
cloud celestial
I don't
emperor,
blame you for letting
asked
Duan
coldly when he
Lingtian
saw
go,
Su Yixi
because
did
you're
not
from the
attack
same
Duan
sect as him.
Lingtian.
Don't
and
you
was
think
even
you
chatting
crossed
with
the
him.
line by stopping
However,
Lei from
Su
making a
Yixi
move?
did not seem to
Yu
hear Gu
Fengyu's voice
Changjiang's
turned
words
colder
at
as
all.
he spoke.
She looked at
Palace
Duan
master,
Lingtian coldly
I still
and said,
stand by my words.
"Little junior brother,
I'll personally capture them in 3 days
choices
today."
Su Yixi
The first
said
choice
resolutely.
is to bring Lian
Su
Xiu
Yixi's
back to
tone
the
was
Thousand
firm.
Chains prison
She was
with
not
me.
shaken by
You'll
Yu
still be
Fengyu's
my
words.
little junior brother.
Su Lang,
And I
control
can
your
guarantee
daughter.
no one in the
Yu
Heavenly
Fengyu
Pool
said to
Palace
Su
will
Lang,
dare to touch
Palace
you.
master.
At this
Do you
point,
think she'll behave
Su
like this if I
Yaxi's
can
eyes
control
revealed
her?
a strong confidence.
Su Lang smiled bitterly.
It was as if she was looking down on
Yu
the world.
Fengyu scoffed
It
before
was
he
rare
said to
even
Lei
for
Ying,
men.
The second choice
since
is to
she's
break
trying
up
to stop
with me
you,
and
there's
your
no
other
need to
senior
hold
brothers
back.
and sisters
Yes, palace
and become
master.
strangers.
Lei Ying had
If
been
you
waiting
choose
for
the
Yu
second
Fengyu
choice,
to say this.
I'll let all of you
as
go
soon
today.
as Yu Fengyu finished
However,
speaking,
from today
Lei
onward,
Ying looked at Su
all of you will
Yixi
be
and
my
sneered.
enemies.
Apart from that, I heard
I'll
that
make
you're
a
now
move
as
3
strong
days
as a
later
titled
to look for
celestial
all of you
emperor
and bring all
Today
of you
I,
back.
Lei Ying, will deal with
Su
you.
Yixi's tone
Let's see
turned
how
cold
weak
as
you
she
are
spoke.
compared to your father,
Eldest
Su Lang.
senior sister.
As soon as
Duan
Lei Ying's
Lingtian
voice fell,
smiled bitterly.
streaks of
I
lightning
must bring
whizzed out from
Senior
her body
Lianxiu back
and
today.
attacked Su Yixi
As for the
directly.
second choice,
She was
I
like
don't
a
want to
giant
choose
lightning
either.
beast,
A teacher for a
opening her
day
bloody
is a
mouth
father for
and
life.
pouncing towards Su Yixi.
In my eyes, senior brothers and senior sisters have long been my family. Although this is my first time meeting you, I don't treat you as an outsider. Duan Lingtian said. So you're planning to bring him back? Su Yixi asked indifferently as she looked at Lian Xiu, who was standing next to Duan Lingtian. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded confidently. In that case, from today onward, you're no longer my little junior brother. In just a blink of an eye, Su Yixi opened up a path for Duan Lingtian and Lian Xiu. She stood at the side and said indifferently. It doesn't matter if eldest senior sister treats me as your little junior brother or not. I still treat you as my eldest senior sister. Duan Lingtian looked at Su Yixi gratefully. Then, he prepared to leave with Lian Xiu. Merciless Celestial Emperor, I'd like to see how you're as famous as my father in the Heavenly Pool Palace, Su Yixi said indifferently. Facing Lei Ying, who was charging at her, Su Yixi said calmly. Waves of black energy swept out from her body, and a figure seemed to leap out from her body. It was another Su Yixi. However, the eyes of this Su Yixi were blood red and did not contain any emotions. Clearly this was the law of death's death clone profundity. As soon as Su Yixi's clone appeared, It collided with Lei Ying. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Around Su Yasi's death doppelganger, streaks of energy that were as black as ink and filled with a murderous aura turned into black sword rays that rose with a murderous aura. Then they whizzed towards Lei Ying. Lei Ying's lightning bolts were like blazing lights in the night sky, trying to break through the darkness. Duan Lingtian, let's go. Pei Yuanji urged Duan Lingtian to leave. This was the best opportunity for them to leave. Eldest senior sister. Duan Lingtian did not leave immediately, because he was worried that Su Yasi would be at a disadvantage. However, when he heard Pei Yuanji's words, he immediately regained his senses. Based on the situation, it seems like eldest senior sister isn't any weaker than Lei Ying. Moreover, even if Su Yasi is weaker than Lei Ying, I don't think Lei Ying would kill her. After all, Lei Ying still has to give face to master. Su Lang was not any weaker than Lei Ying. If Lei Ying killed Su Yasi, Su Lang would definitely not let the matter rest. Even if the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace had ordered Su Lang not to seek revenge from Lei Ying, he would definitely avenge his daughter. For this reason, Duan Lingtian was certain Lei Ying would not dare to kill Su Yasi. Senior Lianqiu, let's leave. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian placed his hand on Lianqiu's shoulder, preparing to teleport away with Lianqiu. However, as soon as he teleported, he discovered that the space around him seemed to have been sealed by a powerful spatial energy. Who's that? Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically. He looked around before he asked in a deep voice. None of the titled celestial emperors present on the scene were skilled in the law of space. However, the person who sealed the space was someone skilled in the law of space. Naturally, Duan Lingtian had no idea who the other party was. However, since the other party did not allow him to leave, it was clear the other party was not a friend. Swoosh, swoosh. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, a figure appeared out of thin air in front of Duan Lingtian. It was an old man dressed in a light gray robe, his long, curly hair draped over his back, giving him an exotic charm. At this moment, the old man was looking at Duan Lingtian mockingly as he said, "Little brat, it's not that easy for you to teleport in my shackles of space." "Who are you?" Duan Lingtian asked in a deep voice as he looked at the old man warily. The Soaring
Chapter
Celestial
3342.
Ma Qi. It seems like we've dragged this out for too long. Even the reinforcements that you heard the old man's question. The palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace has arrived. Duan Lingtian's eyes widened. Thought to himself he had heard about this titled celestial emperor from Celestial Emperor, Su Lang, the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven. Han Fei was a titled celestial emperor under the heavenly emperor appeared in front of Duan Lingtian. A ghostly figure appeared in front of Duan Lingtian and faced the Ling Kong celestial emperor. Duan Lingtian's expression froze when he saw the figure in front of him. Eldest senior sister? Duan Lingtian could not figure out why his eldest senior sister, Su Yasi, who was fighting with Lei Ying, had the time to deal with the Ling Kong celestial emperor. However, in the next moment, he knew what was going on. Bang! A loud explosion rang in the air, followed by a muffled grunt. Lei Ying was sent flying by Su Yasi's death clone. The lightning energy in her body had dissipated, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. It was obvious she was severely injured. You were still holding back earlier? Lei Ying's expression changed drastically when she looked at Su Yasi again. A hint of fear could be seen in her eyes. Su Yasi's death clone had defeated Lei Ying before she even made a move. If Su Yasi's death clone and Su Yasi's death clone merged, her strength would undoubtedly increase. This was the trait of someone who had comprehended the law of death. "Let's go," Su Yasi said coldly, as she stood in front of the Ling Kong celestial emperor. Her words were clearly directed at Duan Lingtian. Trying to leave? The corners of celestial emperor Ling Kong's mouth curled up into a mocking smile. Almost as soon as his words left his mouth, two swift whistling sounds of wind whistling were heard. Swoosh, swoosh. In just a blink of an eye, two more people appeared next to Ling Kong celestial emperor. One was a burly middle-aged man with flames burning all over his body, and the other was a skinny black-robed old woman with a walking stick in her hand. It was obvious that the burly middle-aged man was an expert who had comprehended the law of fire. As for the black-robed old woman, she looked like an ordinary person at first glance. However, upon closer inspection, one would discover that her eyes were extremely deep, like a bottomless abyss. Exploding Flame Immortal Emperor, Water Staff Immortal Emperor. When Suya Si saw the two people who had appeared one after another, she slowly opened her mouth. At the same time, her pair of beautiful eyes instantly narrowed together. Whoosh! At the same time, Lei Ying, who had recovered from her injuries, flew forward and stared at Suya Si like a tiger eyeing its prey. Suya Si, don't waste your time. Don't tell me you think you can stop the four of us by yourself. The three titled Celestial Emperors, who had just arrived, were all as strong as Lei Ying. All three of them were titled Celestial Emperors, serving under the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. You are Suya Si? You're the most talented person in the Heavenly Pool Palace, who has become a titled Celestial Emperor, when you're only slightly over 1,000 years old? The Exploding Flame Immortal Emperor's voice was as loud as a bell. He looked at Suya Si and said with a smile, "If the three of us join forces, even the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace won't be a match for us, let alone you. I didn't expect the Palace Master to invite the three of you as well." As soon as Suya Si glinted as she spoke, her death
tone
clone
was
returned to her body like a ghost.
when she was facing the
At the
soaring
same time,
Celestial
her
Emperor.
aura grew stronger.
Earlier,
At this
even in
moment,
the face of
the
Celestial
death clone
Emperor Ling
seemed to have
Kong,
transformed
Suya
into a
Si's
gigantic
expression was
spirit
still as calm
that
as
hovered
ever.
around Suya
Clearly,
Si. She was not afraid of the soaring Celestial
It was
Emperor
clear
at
she
all.
wanted to fight
In
the
fact,
three-titled
she was
Celestial
not afraid
Emperors
of the
alone.
soaring Celestial
Little
Emperor
girl, you're
and the
too
merciless
arrogant.
Celestial
The
Emperor
Water
at
Staff
all.
Celestial Emperor,
Just as well, the black-clad
I'd like to
old
see
man
how
with the
strong the
walking
three of
stick
you are.
had a dark expression on his face when he heard Suya Si's words. Then a dazzling blue energy surged out of his body. It was clear the Water Staff Celestial Emperor had comprehended the law of water. Humph! The soaring Celestial Emperor and the exploding Flame Immortal Emperor were clearly angered by Suya Si's words. They snorted in unison before they charged toward Suya Si. Swoosh! Swoosh! The exploding Flame Immortal Emperor flew across the sky. Blazing flames burst out from his body, making him look like a flaming god of war. Suddenly, a long spear appeared in his hand. Surrounded by raging flames, he dashed toward Suya Si. Buzz! 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 The soaring Celestial Emperor attacked. Spatial cracks appeared around Suya Si. After that, dimensional/profundity whistled through the air, heading straight for Suya Si. Boom! Rumble! The Water Staff Immortal Emperor swung her staff. Suddenly, a huge wave with a majestic momentum appeared in front of her. One wave after another swept towards Suya Si with a majestic momentum. The three titled Celestial Emperors made their move at the same time, aiming for Suya Si. Swoosh! Suya Si did not dare to face the combined attack of the three titled Celestial Emperors. She moved at lightning speed and dodged the three titled Celestial Emperors' attacks. Alas, the three titled Celestial Emperors under the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven were not to be trifled with. As soon as Suya Si made a move to escape, the three titled Celestial Emperors chased after her like shadows. It was as though they had eyes of their own. Swoosh! At the same time, Suya Si's undead clone emitted a strong aura as she flew away, blocking the three titled Celestial Emperors' attacks. Meanwhile, Suya Si left afterimages in the air as she made her way toward the three titled Celestial Emperors. Celestial Emperor Ling Kong was an expert in the law of space. When he saw Suya Si's true body charging over, his expression turned solemn. At the same time, he hurriedly activated the law of space. The first thing he used was the law of space's imprisonment profundity. He wanted to restrain Suya Si. Break! Alas, a 3-foot-long sword that was shrouded in black light appeared in Suya Si's hand. With a swing of her sword, the restraining profundity of the soaring Celestial Emperor broke. That's Duan Ling Tian saw a black creature that resembled a WRM python, hovering above Suya Si's 3-foot-long blade. It held onto Suya Si's wrist that was holding the sword. An artifact spirit? Since Duanling Tian had once owned the Seven Orifices exquisite pagoda, an emperor-grade celestial weapon with a weapon spirit, he could tell it was the sword spirit of Suya Si's sword as soon as he saw it. It was obvious the sword was a top-tier emperor-grade celestial weapon. Its strength was comparable to a Devata artifact. Why are you still standing there? Let's go. Suya Si sent a voice transmission to Duanling Tian, urging him to leave. Eldest senior sister. Duanling Tian's heart skipped a beat when he saw Suya Si fighting 3 titled celestial emperors alone. He hurriedly regained his senses and prepared to leave. Although Suya Si's eldest senior sister seemed to be getting stronger as the battle progressed, Duanling Tian was still confident in his strength. Nevertheless, Duanling Tian knew Suya Si would not be a match for the 3 titled celestial emperors if the battle continued. Trying to leave? However, when Duanling Tian was about to leave with Lian Xiu, Lei Ying, who had been staring at them without making a move against Suya Si, suddenly moved out like a bolt of lightning and blocked their path. Senior Lian Xiu, she's injured. Let's work together to defeat her. Duanling Tian called out to Lian Xiu. Then, he manifested the pine willow divine tree's godly image phenomenon. Branches shot out at lightning speed toward Lei Ying. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. As soon as Duanling Tian's words left his mouth, Lian Xiu made his move as well. Dazzling sword rays circled around his body before they transformed into a rain of swords that whistled as they swept toward Lei Ying. Along the way, the rain of swords scattered in the air and attacked Lei Ying from all directions. At the same time, Duanling Tian borrowed the energy of the 5 divine elements and merged it with the pine willow divine tree. Then, the 6 branches shot toward Lei Ying with lightning speed. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. Lei Ying sneered. Lightning energy surged out of her body and neutralized Lian Xiu's attack. Senior Lian Xiu continued to attack her. Don't stop. Duanling Tian reminded Lian Xiu. Upon hearing Duanling Tian's words, Lian Xiu realized Duanling Tian was trying to exhaust Lei Ying's strength. Lian Xiu continued to attack. Tens of thousands of swords shot toward Lei Ying. Alas, the sword celestial sword was easily neutralized by Lei Ying before it could even reach her. Even if I'm injured, I'm still a titled celestial emperor. You're just a sword celestial, who's not even a titled celestial emperor. You're not a threat to me at all. Lei Ying seemed to have sensed something the instant her voice sounded, and her expression abruptly changed. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Duanling Tian's pine willow divine tree avatar was blocked by Lei Ying. Moreover, Duanling Tian's Ning dragons were still helping Tung Xiongba, the scoured cloud celestial emperor, to deal with Gu Changjiang, the martial dragon celestial emperor. For this reason, Chapter 33:43 much of Duanling Tian. Since Duanling Tian, however, had only used the 5 divine elements energy pine willow divine tree avatar to attack the pine willow divine tree, she felt a sense of danger. None of the titled celestial emperors present on the scene powerful as an attack from a titled divine element energy. How's this only possible? Titled celestial emperors did not who had been keeping an eye on him would be able to use the energy of the 5 divine elements during the chaos. The merciless celestial emperor in his pine willow divine tree avatar knew he would no longer be able to use the 5 divine elements power. Boom. Since there would be when titled the willow branches collided with Lei Ying's lightning even energy, if no one was watching him, a series of earth-shattering explosions rang in the air. Would definitely then keep an eye on him. Was sent flying what back kind of energy coughing up blood. Her body was covered in even more severe, and her vital energy was weak. Suya Si had injured her. It was none other than her eyes were filled with the merciless celestial as she looked at the purple figure in the distance. How could a mere celestial lord like Duanling Tian possess such powerful energy? Little did she know that not only did Duanling Tian borrow the energy of the 6th form 5 divine elements, but he had also used the prominent 7 orifices exquisite sword. Otherwise, Duanling Tian would not have been able to injure Lei Ying so severely. Moreover, the reason Duanling Tian had asked Lian Xiu to make a move earlier was because he wanted Lian Xiu to distract Lei Ying, so she would not focus on him and discover the secret of the 5 divine elements. Bang! At this moment, a loud explosion rang in the air. The 3 titled celestial emperors under the heavenly emperor of the boundless heavens command had joined forces to destroy Su Yixi's attack and injure her. Su Yixi's attack had been dispelled. Swoosh! Su Yixi was sent flying for a distance before she finally regained her balance. At the same time, her undead clone merged with her body again. Blood could be seen trickling down the corner of her mouth. Seniors, you live up to your reputation indeed. Su Yixi wiped the blood off the corner of her mouth as she looked at the three titled Celestial Emperors solemnly. Little girl, your strength is truly shocking. The Water Staff Celestial Emperor looked at Su Yixi with a solemn expression on her face. If the three of us didn't join forces, we might not have been able to do anything to you. With your current strength, you're comparable to that brat, Yu. The Soaring Celestial Emperor looked at Su Yixi with a hint of admiration in his eyes. Su Yixi, you've done your best. You can't stop us for them. You've done your best. Even if you don't do anything, he won't blame you. The Explosive Flame Celestial Emperor said. It was obvious Su Yixi had stopped the three of them for Duan Tian. Any normal person could see Su Yixi had the intention of escorting Duan Tian away. Seniors, I told him that if they leave today 3 days later, I will personally capture them and bring them back. I'm the head warden of the Heavenly Pool Palace's Thousand Chains prison. Do you not believe me? Su Yixi looked at the three celestial emperors in front of her. You use words. What could the Heavenly Pool Palace do to you even if you failed to catch up to them in 3 days? What can they do to you? Immortal Emperor Waterstaff said flatly. Little girl, you don't need to show off your little schemes in front of us. You didn't even exist when we were scheming. Little girl, we've already shown mercy earlier. Otherwise, you'd only be alive at most. You won't have a reason to attack us anymore. The Soaring Celestial Emperor said indifferently. If you attack us again, not only will you oppose the Heavenly Pool Palace, but you'll also oppose the Heavenly Emperor Palace as well. A hint of warning could be seen in the Soaring Celestial Emperor's eyes as he looked at Su Yixi. Su Yixi. At the same time, Yu, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, said, I know you're a sentimental person, but you've already done your best. If the three seniors didn't show mercy, you wouldn't be able to fight anymore even if you're still alive. If you attack us again, you'll be asking for it. Remember, he's not your only junior brother. Yu warned Su Yixi. However, when he looked at Su Yixi, a hint of shock could be seen in the depths of his eyes. He did not expect Su Yixi would be so strong. He did not expect Su Lang's daughter to be as strong as him. If he did not send a message to his grandfather, the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven, the Soaring Celestial Emperor, the Explosive Flame Celestial Emperor, and the Water Staff Celestial Emperor would not have come. If the three of them did not come, Duan Tian and Lian Xiu would definitely be able to escape. After all, it was obvious Su Yixi was helping Duan Tian. Eldest senior sister. Earlier, Duan Tian's attention was focused on laying, so he did not see what happened to Su Yixi. However, based on the current situation, not only was his first senior sister no match for the three celestial emperors, but if the three celestial emperors did not go easy on her, she would not have suffered such minor injuries. You don't have to fight for me anymore. Apart from gratitude, there was also a hint of determination in Duan Tian's eyes as he looked at Su Yixi. I'll settle the rest myself. As soon as Duan Tian finished speaking, he appeared above the pine willow divine tree and glared at the Soaring Celestial Emperor and the other two heavenly emperors. Based on the current situation, Duan Tian had no choice but to rely on the 5 divine elements to defeat the titled celestial emperors in front of him. Only then would he and Lian Xiu have a chance of escaping. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As soon as Duan Tian finished speaking, he hovered above the pine willow divine tree's godly image phenomenon, while the 3 celestial emperors flew out and surrounded him. At the same time, Lian Xiu flew behind Duan Tian and stood with his back facing Duan Tian as he looked at the 3 titled celestial emperors in front of him with a solemn expression on his face. At this moment, all the titled celestial emperors had their own opponents and were being held back. Laying was severely injured, and temporarily lost the ability to fight. Suyasi stood at the side. She could not make a move since she would offend the Heavenly Pool Palace, and the Heavenly Palace of the Boundless Heaven, if she made a move. Not only that, but her father, Su Lang, and her 2 junior brothers and sisters would also be in danger because of her. Based on Yu Fengyu's words, it was clear he would not let her junior brothers and sisters go if she insisted on making a move. It was precisely because of this that Suyasi was in a dilemma. In the end, she could only choose to compromise. Little junior brother. Suyasi sighed inwardly as she looked at the purple figure in the distance. Eldest senior sister. I've done my best. Brat, you're the one who released the prisoners from the Heavenly Pool Palace's Thousand Chains prison? The Water-Staff Celestial Emperor sneered as she looked at Duan Lingtian. Brat, do you know there's a person imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison by the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven? He's Pei Yuanji. The explosive flame Celestial Emperor glared at Duan Lingtian fiercely as he spoke in a deafening voice. You're just a mere celestial lord. How dare you release Pei Yuanji to make an enemy out of the Heavenly Palace of the Boundless Heaven? I have to say, you're quite bold even though your cultivation base is weak. Similarly, the Soaring Celestial Emperor looked at Duan Lingtian coldly as well. You talk too much. Faced with 3 titled Celestial Emperors, Duan Lingtian, who had made up his mind to use the 5 divine elements, said indifferently. His expression was indifferent. If you want to fight, let's fight. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed coldly as he communicated with the 5 divine elements in his little world. Huang, the sword soul of the 7 orifices exquisite sword, was also prepared to cooperate with Duan Lingtian. Brat, since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The explosive flame Celestial Emperor was the most hot-tempered among the 3 titled Celestial Emperors from the Heavenly Palace of the Boundless Heaven. Naturally, he could not hold himself back when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He transformed into a flaming giant and charged toward Duan Lingtian. Alas, just as Duan Lingtian was about to make his move, something unexpected happened. Bang! Exploding Flame Immortal Emperor took a step forward, and a layer of spatial barrier appeared out of thin air, blocking his path. The raging flame energy wreaked havoc in the air, but it couldn't advance any further, as if it was blocked by an even more powerful force. The law of space, the explosive flame Celestial Emperor, did not give up, and unleashed his energy again. However, he was still unable to break through the spatial barrier. At this moment, the Soaring Celestial Emperor cried out in alarm. Who are you? Why are you helping him? The Soaring Celestial Emperor looked up at the clouds in the sky, as though there was someone behind the clouds. Swoosh! The sound of wind whistling in the air rang in the air, as 5 figures appeared near Duan Lingtian like phantoms. They were a middle-aged man, a beautiful woman and 3 young men. The middle-aged man was the leader of the group. The middle-aged man was dressed in a dark golden robe. He was tall and muscular, and his square face was dignified. The beautiful woman wore white clothes. She had an elegant and graceful bearing. As she stood there, she seemed to cause everything around her to dim in comparison. Of the 3 young people behind him, one was a young man in black with a cold expression, one was a young woman in white with a pure and holy temperament, and the last one was a young woman in gold with a delicate and pretty face. She seemed a little mischievous. When Duan Lingtian was stopped by the explosive flame Celestial Emperor, Duan Lingtian was the 5 divine elements with the dignified middle-aged man, on the verge of surging out of his body. And luxurious-looking beautiful woman. He knew someone was certain he had never come into contact with these 2 people before. Is it someone from the Heavenly Palace of the solitary destructive heaven? However, did Senior Ming find someone to help him? Was certain this was his first time seeing the 3 young men behind the 2 of them. However, he did not know why he felt this thought appeared in his mind, and closeness he discovered from the 5 people had appeared out of thin air. It was as though this was not his first time meeting these 3 young men. As someone who specialized in the law of space, he was certain this was not the case. He was certain he had never seen these 5 young men appeared using the teleportation profundity. Celestial Emperor Please remember the domain name at the middle-aged man in the dark golden robe. Although he found the middle-aged man familiar, he could not remember where he had seen him before. As expected of a titled Celestial Emperor, under the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven, The golden-clad middle-aged man glanced at the soaring celestial emperor and said meaningfully, "Although we've only met once, I still remember you, soaring celestial emperor. It seems like a nobody like me isn't worthy of your attention, soaring celestial emperor." A mocking smile appeared on the golden-clad middle-aged man's face when he finished speaking. "You know me?" The frown on the soaring celestial emperor's face deepened. As a titled celestial emperor who was skilled in the law of space, he had his own circle of titled celestial emperors who were skilled in the law of space in the boundless heaven. In fact, his circle of titled celestial emperors who were skilled in the law of space would often leave the boundless heaven to interact with titled celestial emperors from other Devata realms who were skilled in the law of space. Although the golden-clad middle-aged man looked familiar, he could not recall where he had seen him before. "Old man, is it because you're not wearing the mask that the soaring celestial emperor doesn't recognize you?" The elegant and beautiful woman standing next to the golden-clad middle-aged man asked with a smile on her face. "Indeed, the soaring celestial emperor has a short memory." The golden-clad middle-aged man scoffed and said indifferently, "Mask." The soaring celestial emperor was taken aback by the beautiful woman's words. Then a thought appeared in his mind. His face paled immediately, and his eyes widened in shock. It was him. Deliberately mystifying things. At this moment, the explosive flame celestial emperor, who was infuriated by his failed attacks, became even more furious when he saw the mysterious person who had attacked him earlier. He roared and turned into flames again. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang, a huge hammer shadow appeared in the flames. It was surrounded by boundless flames as it smashed towards the golden-robed middle-aged man. Exploding flame stop! Exploding flame immortal emperor's sudden attack was out of Soaring Immortal Emperor's expectation. When Soaring Immortal Emperor realized who the opponent was, Exploding Flame Immortal Emperor had already attacked with all his might. Not only did he use his own immortal artifact, he even used all of the fused profundities that he had comprehended in the laws of fire. Clearly, he was extremely furious. He no longer held back and used his full strength to attack the golden-robed middle-aged man in the distance. The Soaring Celestial Emperor ordered the Explosive Flame Immortal Emperor to attack. His voice was so loud that it was deafening. At this moment, the other titled Celestial Emperors who were fighting, including Yu Fengyu, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor, and Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, retreated after a brief exchange of blows. With just a glance, they saw the golden-clad middle-aged man in the distance. At this moment, Exploding Flame Immortal Emperor seemed to have fused with the blazing hammer shadow. He unleashed a powerful force and smashed it toward the middle-aged man in a golden robe, who was standing in the distance with an indifferent and expressionless face. The Explosive Flame Immortal Emperor had displayed his strength as a titled Celestial Emperor under the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. If he joined forces with the Soaring Celestial Emperor and the Water Staff Celestial Emperor earlier, I wouldn't have suffered such minor injuries. Su Yixi thought to herself when she saw this. She knew the Soaring Celestial Emperor and the other two Celestial Emperors had gone easy on her. Even the Explosive Flame Celestial Emperor, Ling Long Celestial Emperor, and the Water Staff Celestial Emperor did not use their full strength. If the Soaring Celestial Emperor and the other two titled Celestial Emperors unleashed their full strength, she would only be able to fight two of them at the same time. Why is he here? Unlike Yu Fengyu and the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor, the Heavenly Pool Palace, did not react at all. Meng Chuan's eyes widened in shock when he saw the golden-clad middle-aged man. He did not expect the golden-clad middle-aged man would appear here. After all, the golden-clad middle-aged man was as famous as his elder brother, Meng Luo, the Heavenly Savage Celestial Emperor. In fact, compared to the golden-clad middle-aged man, Meng Luo could only be considered a rising star. Even then, Meng Luo was only barely able to fight the golden-clad middle-aged man to a draw 100 years ago. Die! The Explosive Flame Immortal Emperor roared. His voice reverberated in the air like thunder. He was already enraged, and after using his full strength, not only did the power of flames roar out, but even his emotions were driven by the scorching flames. It was like a prairie fire that could not be controlled. Although the soaring celestial emperor's voice was not soft, it was extremely weak compared to the sound of the wind. Due to this reason, he could not hear him clearly. "You think you can kill me with just this little bit of strength?" Under everyone's watchful eyes, the golden-robed middle-aged man smiled faintly. A hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes as he looked at the explosive flame celestial emperor. In the next moment, the golden-clad middle-aged man disappeared from his spot under everyone's watchful eyes. When he reappeared, he was already standing in front of the explosive flame immortal emperor. "I'd like to see how you're going to kill me." The golden-clad middle-aged man looked at the explosive flame immortal emperor mockingly when he entered the explosive flame immortal emperor's attack range. Boom! Rumble! Facing the provocation of the golden-robed middle-aged man, the explosive flame immortal emperor, who was already enraged, unleashed the hammer shadow that was formed by the flames. It was like a rolling wave that overlapped with each other. Then, it unleashed its strongest power and smashed down on the golden-robed middle-aged man. A terrifying flame energy danced in the air and swept out, causing the air within a dozen miles to become scorching hot. Bang! A loud explosion rang out, as if it was earth-shattering and heaven-shattering, and it exploded in the void. This, under Duan Lingtian's gaze, the hammer that resembled the fire god's hammer fell on the golden-clad middle-aged man's head. However, it seemed to have encountered some resistance and exploded in the air. The dazzling flames seemed to have transformed into fiery dragons that had escaped from their cages and fled in all directions. Humph! However, the golden-robed middle-aged man snorted coldly when the explosive flame celestial emperor's all-out attack only managed to cause the barrier above the golden-robed middle-aged man to tremble slightly. The golden-robed middle-aged man snorted coldly. In the next moment, rip! Accompanied by a clear and ear-piercing tearing sound, a ferocious and terrifying spatial crack appeared in the void above the golden-robed middle-aged man. It was like the bloody mouth of a space behemoth. As it breathed and swallowed, it swallowed the flames that were still sweeping in all directions. After devouring the flames, a crisp and ear-piercing sound of glass shattering could be heard. The space in front of him started to fold in a strange manner. Then it continued to spread out, as though it was forming a flight of stairs. The spatial crack seemed to have a life of its own as it slid down the stairs toward the explosive flame immortal emperor. "Lord Ji Yunyan, please show mercy." At this moment, the soaring celestial emperor finally regained his senses and hurriedly cried out. However, his words were too late. Chi, 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 chi. Although the explosive flame immortal emperor dodged, when he saw the spatial crack moving toward him along the folded space, his body was strangely torn apart, as if he was a piece of paper being cut off piece by piece. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the spatial crack swallowed the explosive flame immortal emperor, who was cut into pieces like a piece of paper. At this moment, everyone present on the scene could clearly see the explosive flame immortal emperor's body. When the explosive flame immortal emperor's body was torn apart like a piece of paper, he was no longer breathing. What a terrifying law of space. This was Duan Lingtian's first time witnessing such a terrifying law of space. Even the supreme powerhouse's divinity in his sleep had only fused two profundities from the law of space. However, The golden-clad middle-aged man's attack was not as simple as fusing two profundities from the law of space. In fact, the golden-clad middle-aged man's attack was much more powerful than fusing three profundities. Although it was not as powerful as fusing four profundities, it was not far off. The explosive flame immortal emperor, one of the titled celestial emperors under the heavenly whispers YouTube channel, we're so grateful for your support. To attack the golden-clad middle-aged man. To join us on this incredible journey through captivating had killed him with just a your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. At this moment, the water's primary source of revenue that allows me to next to the Soaring celestial emperor for you. Looked at the golden-clad from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure, and she could not help but say in a trembling voice, "He's Ji Yunyan? Duan Lingtian. Even Ji Yunyan helped him?" The golden-clad middle-aged man was Ji Yunyan, the grand elder of the 10,000 beasts heaven's dragons, the fragmented element celestial emperor. When Ji Yunyan attacked, he had fused many profundities from the law of space. He could easily tear a person's life apart, just like how the explosive flame immortal emperor was torn apart like a piece of paper by Ji Yunyan.